Hello, I'm Kay from the Astra team, and in this course I'll teach you how to build a modern website with Elementor. And we'll do this step by step, starting from zero up until your website is online and ready to go. And cherry on the cake, we've provided the project file so that you can follow along and build a project exactly as I do it. Now, the website we will create for this project is a website for web design freelancers or small web design studios. But of course, you can use the skills that you will learn here and apply it to any industry. Because once you've completed the course, changing the content of the website by your content will be a breeze. Like for a law firm, for example, or for a cat grooming service. Now, you may be a beginner when it comes to building websites, or maybe you had your website made by a professional and you'd like to know how to use Elementor to tweak it. Or maybe you are a web designer and just want to level up your Elementor skills. Whatever the case, this is the course for you. In this free course, you will learn how to use the project files to follow along, how to get your own domain name and web hosting to publish your website online. You will learn the basics of Elementor and how you can cheat the system to build modern websites faster. We will then edit the content of your website, and you will also learn how to add new pages, how to edit the header, the navigation, and the footer, as well as how to customize the identity of the website to match your brand. And of course, you will learn about how to make your website fully responsive. Now, before creating videos about web design, I actually personally ran a small web design studio for years. So I will share some of the best practices along the way, how to use the course project files and its workflow. Now, first of all, congratulations for starting your journey. You're on your way to level up your Elementor skills. Now, in order to help you complete this website project, you'll find a link in the description of this video where you can download the course files. Now, once you've downloaded the zip file, if you're on a Mac, you can just double click on the zip file and it will automatically extract the files and create this folder. Now, if you're on Windows or on Linux, it depends on which version you're using, but if you're using one of the latest versions, it's pretty easy. You just right click and you will find extract in the contextual menu. Okay, next let's open the extracted folder, and inside this folder you will find two subfolders, text and web assets. Let's start with text. So if I get inside the text subfolder, you see several files, and each file, as I open it, contains the text needed for that page. So here is the header text, so it's very simple, book a call. Here we got the home. So as you can see, it's divided by sections or containers. Here we have the text for the hero container, then the text for the services container, testimonials container, and so on. And if I open the other pages, it's exactly the same principle. So basically all you need to do is, once you're working on a page and I'm showing something on screen, you can just open this file and then just copy and paste where it should be pasted. Okay, let's go back. And next we have web assets. If we get in there, as you can see, we got all the media assets, mainly images. Now, I followed a naming convention so that it's easier throughout the project. And by the way, that's one of the best practices. So let me put it in list mode. And as you can see, the first three are ID for identity. So we got the logo, the dark version, the white version, the site icon. Next, we have our images. So for the images that could be reused anywhere on the website, I follow the simple naming convention, IMG for image, HOR because here is a horizontal image, and the number. So here's 2, 3, and so on. Then here I get the vertical image, so IMG, VER for vertical, and then the number of the image. You get the ID. And for images that serve a specific role, I give them a specific name, like here, quotes 2. Then we have service branding, service graphic design, and service web design. And finally, we got our team images. Now the images are already optimized, and optimization is super important when it comes to the speed of your website, but we'll talk about optimization later on in this course. Now, to make your life easier, when I'm using a file during the course, you find a reference to the name of this file so that you can easily reproduce what I do on screen. Next, how to get a domain name and web hosting, as well as how to install WordPress from your web hosting dashboard. Now, before we can build our website, we need a domain name as well as web hosting. Think of a domain name as the address of a building. With that address, we can easily locate and reach that building. So in the same way, with a domain name, users can easily be redirected to a website and access its content. Now, if we go back to our initial analogy, the address gets you to the building, but the building itself is made of stone, wood, and other construction material. The building has several rooms, as well as furniture and decorations on the wall. And in the same way, web hosting provides space for the content of your website, like code, scripts, text, and images that are physically sitting on a computer called a server, which allows the rest of the world to access your content. So I'm going to walk you through how to get your own domain name and web hosting. So personally, I prefer using private mode when I do a purchase. So I open private mode on my browser, and now I can go to hostinger.com and click enter. Next, I'm going to click on WordPress, and then I'm just going to scroll down, and here you see the various plans. Now for the first year, you can get plans as little as $2.49 per month, and this comes with the free domain name. Now the business plan is the most popular plan because, as you may imagine, it comes with more bells and whistles. But for this tutorial, I'm going to use the cheapest plan. So click on add to cart, and next you need to choose a period. Now if you choose to pay monthly, first of all, it's going to be way more expensive because it's $11.99. and you don't get the free domain. Now if you choose 12 months, you will pay $2.99 per month, and that decreases if you want to stay longer. But I'm gonna stick with 12 months. You can always upgrade later. So next, you need to create your account. You can either log in with Google or Facebook, or you can create your account with your email address. So I'm gonna do that in a moment, but as you can see here below, we have the select payment screen. And here you can select your favorite mode of payment. In my case, I'm going to use credit card, and then just fill in the self-explanatory form. And once you're done with it, click on Submit Secure Payment. So now I'm just going to fill in the information and proceed. All right, so let me click on Secure Payment. And there you go. I'm being redirected to the control panel. And next, click on Skip. I don't want personalized experience. Next, click on Skip, create an empty website. And here you got three options. You can claim your free domain, which is what we're going to do. You can buy a new domain, or you can use an existing domain. In our case, we're going to claim a free domain. Click on Select and enter the desired domain name. Now, historically, the .com is considered the best domain, especially for businesses. But if you can't find the domain you want with the .com, there are plenty of other extensions. So let me click on Search, and the domain is available. So click on Continue, and next select the primary details like the country and whether the website is personal or for a company. So select your preferred option and click on Next Step. Next, enter your contact details, and once you're done, click on Finish Registration. So now it's registering your domain, so just sit back and relax. Great, now you can select your server location. So if you click on the pencil icon, you see this map. And by default, right now we are in North America, in Arizona. But let's say you are in Europe and most of your customers are in Europe. You may want to select a different one, like France, United Kingdom. You get the idea. But right now, I'm gonna leave it as it is. So click on Change and Finish Setup. And here at the bottom, you see a Setup Progress bar. Well done, you're ready. And here you can either view your website, but there's nothing in it, or you can go to the control panel, which is what we're going to do. So click on Manage Site. And before we do anything, we need to verify our email address. Now, very important, right after your purchase, you will receive this email from Hostinger. If you don't see it, just check your spam folder. So let's open it. And next you want to click on Verify Email to verify your account. If you open your email from a different browser, you will need to log back in. But if you are in the same browser, you will land here. So our email address is now verified. So next, you see here Premium Web Hosting. So click on Manage. So as you can see, the web hosting is already connected to the domain name that we selected. Next, let's install WordPress. So click on Auto Installer and select WordPress. Give your website a name. Make sure the administrator email is correct. Choose an administrator username and give it a password. And make sure you follow the guide to make sure your password is compliant. There you go. Next, click on the advanced arrow And if you want to install your website on a subdirectory, you can enter the name of the subdirectory here, but we're not going to do that. And next, it's asking you to choose a database. There is no database, so the only option is create a new database. Now give your database a password, and once again, follow the guide. Now it's super important that you write down your passwords in a safe place. All right, let's scroll down and click on next. Next, we have a few more options here, like the application version, but we can leave it as recommended. And if you don't want to install WordPress in English, you can click on the drop-down and select your preferred language. Next, you can choose your update schedule between turning off automatic application updates, update only to minor version, or always update to the latest available version. Now, we're going to leave it as recommended, update to only minor version. Click on install and enjoy the short flight. Awesome! So we're still in Hostinger, and this is the dashboard within Hostinger with specific options like force HTTPS, which is selected by default. Now next, you can also have maintenance mode if you don't want other users to see what you're doing while you're building the website. So you can turn it on or off. I'm going to leave it off at the moment. Next, you can install a cache plugin. That will be the topic for another video, but just know that you have a few options with Hostinger that really make developing your website a breeze. Next, how to set up WordPress, how to install a ready-made design with starter templates, and how to set up the WordPress Astra theme. Alright, next I will show you how we can set up WordPress with a theme, how we can change the website identity, as well as the header and the footer. So back in Hostinger, click on Admin Panel. And when you do that from Hostinger, you are automatically logged in. So here you have an onboarding process from Hostinger, but we're just going to click on Dashboard and we'll take it from there. And from here, you can start building your website. So now that we have our domain name and our web hosting, it's time to set up WordPress as well as our theme. Go to Plugin, Add New Plugin. Then in the search field, type Starter Templates. Click on Install Now and activate. Next, we're going to select Starter Templates. So click on Build with Templates. Select Elementor. And we're going to pick this pre-made design called We All Love Nature. So click on it. And here you can upload your logo. So click on Upload File here. And you can either drag and drop or click on Select Files. I'm going to click on Select Files. Now, in order to help you complete this website project, you'll find a link in the description of this video where you can download the course files. And at this point, I suggest you add all the web assets that you find in the course files. So I'm going to click on the first image, scroll down, then hold Shift on my keyboard and click on the last item to select all items. Then click on Open. And next, we're going to select our logo. We have two versions. We're going to pick this version, which is the light version. Then click on Select. And where it says Logo Width, we're going to change the size to 160. Then click on Continue. And at this stage, we're not going to change the colors because we'll do that later in this video. And the same goes for the typography. So just click on Continue. And here you can fill in the form to help developers make the product even better in the future. And once you're done, make sure all the options are selected. Starter Templates will install and activate the WordPress Astra theme. It will also install Elementor, as well as set it up exactly as in the demo. So next, click on Submit and Build My Website. And then just sit back, relax, and enjoy the short flight. And congratulations, your website is ready and it took just 19 seconds to build. Next, click on View Your Website. And next, we want to start customizing the identity of our website. And we'll do that with the Astra Theme Customizer. And in case you're wondering why we don't do everything within Elementor, well, let's just say that we'll use Elementor for the pages, but when it comes to options like the header, the footer, and other identity aspects of your website, we're going to use the free Astra theme because it will give you some options that Elementor doesn't come with in its free version, like the header and footer builders, as well as many pre-styled design elements that you don't get with other themes, and specifically lightweight themes. Because yes, Astra is one of the fastest WordPress themes out there, but it doesn't compromise on the pre-styled elements that you get with the theme. And the added benefit is that Astra is built with SEO in mind. And if you combine that with its lightweight, it's a great combo to rank on search engines. So there are two ways you can access the Astra customizer. Either from here, you can just click in the admin bar on Customize, or you can go back to the WordPress dashboard, then go to Astra, Customize. But before we do that, let's go to Pages. And here we see all the pages that were installed with our demo. So first of all, we're gonna hover over Sample Page and click on Trash because we don't need that page. And next, we're going to click on Edit where you see Privacy Policy. Click on Edit. So this is just an information pop-up. Let's close this. And the first thing we're going to do is to publish it because this is a draft. So ideally, you would change this text by your legal text for your privacy policy, or you can use this as inspiration and adapt it to your own website. So once you're ready, click on Publish and publish again. Next, let's click on the WordPress icon to go back. And next, we're going to change the order of our pages. So for that, hover over Home, click on Quick Edit. And where you see order, change it to 1, then click on Update. Let's repeat the operation for About, Quick Edit, 2, and click on Update. Next, Services, Quick Edit, 3, Update, Contact, Quick Edit, 4, and Update. Next, hover over Privacy Policy, Quick Edit, and this time we're going to give it 10. Now, why 10? Well, simply because later down the line, you may want to add more content pages that will come before the privacy page. So giving it a bigger number just gives you more room for flexibility. So click on Update. And now let's refresh our page. And there you go. Next, you want to go to Settings, Reading, and where it says for each post in the feed include, you want to change it from full text to excerpt. Now, one of the good practices is to discourage search engine from indexing this website while you are building it. But if you do so, make sure you don't forget to unselect this option when you're going live. So right now, I'm just going to leave it as it is and click on Save Changes. Next, go to Astra, Customize, then click on Global, Typography. And here we're going to change the body font. Click on Font Family and type Poppins. Let's repeat the operation for our headings font. So both our body font and headings font are the same. Now with this demo specifically, the H4 font is different. So click on the little icon and let's change it once again to Poppins. And click on Publish to save our work. Next, let's scroll back up. Let's go back one step. Then click on Colors. And here we're going to change the global color palette. Now the global color palette allows us to define our colors once. And then if later down the line you completely want to revamp your identity, all you need to do is change the colors in the global palette and the colors will be reflected on your website in just a few clicks. So in the course files, open the 00colorpalette.txt file. And all you need to do is copy each color to each color slot. Color 1, color 2, color 3, color 4, color 5, color 6, color 7, color 8, and color 9. Next, you want to change the theme colors. So for the accent, let's choose color 5. For the links, color 1. For the links hover, color 5. The headings, color 4. And same thing for the body text, color 4. Next, where it says content background, select color number 6. And let's click Publish to save our work. Next, let's go back one step and click on Scroll to Top. Enable Scroll to Top. Change the icon size to 21. Then click on the Design tab. The icon color should be set to color number 6. And the icon hover color to color number 9. Next, background color should be set to color number 5. And the background color hover set to color number 4. Next, you want to click on the link icon and we're going to type 90 all around. So now if we scroll down, as you can see, our back to top button is here, and if we click on it, it works as expected. Let's click on publish to save our work. Let's go back, and next click on miscellaneous and enable smooth scroll to ID. And as the name suggests, that will allow us to go smoothly from one element to another element on the same page, and we'll see that later in the course. Let's click on publish to save our work. Next, how to customize your website's header and footer. And next, we want to change the header with the Astra header builder. But before we can do that, there is something I want to show you. Next, go to Appearance, Menus, click on View All, select Privacy Policy, and add it to the menu. Now, we will remove this later, but for the time being, just click on Save Menu. Now, let's go to Pages. And first of all, I'm going to open the home page. So click on Edit. And here, if you click on the Astra theme settings, then go to Advanced Settings, you can see that the transparent header is enabled. Keep that in mind. Let's close this. Let's go back. And now hover over the privacy policy, click on Edit. And same thing, let's go and open the Astra settings. Click on Advanced Settings. And you can see here that the transparent header is not enabled. And once again, keep that in mind. So let's go back, then go to Astra, Customized. And as you can see here, both the logo and the menu are perfectly visible. But now let's click on the Privacy Policy page. And as you can see, the logo doesn't make sense. Now the menu does, but just imagine we had different colors like white or light gray for the transparent header. It wouldn't work here. And that is simply because the Astra WordPress theme comes with a standard header and a transparent header. So we need to make changes so that it works in both scenarios. So since we are on a page that does not use the transparent header, let's start with the standard header. So click on Header Builder, then Primary Menu. Next, click on the Design tab, and let's select a menu hover style. Right now it's set to none. Let's change it to Zoom In. Next, let's scroll down. And you want to make sure that the text color for the normal state is set to color number 4, and for the hover and active state, set to color number 2. Next, click on Menu Font. Let's scroll down, and for the font size, you want to type 13, and also select uppercase. Awesome. And by the way we got here was through the side navigation, but we could as well have just hovered over one element, like for example here the menu, and just click on the little pencil icon. All roads lead to Rome. Now, let's go back. And next you want to click on Site Title and Logo. And we're going to change the logo. And here in our media library, let's select the dark version of our logo. Click on Select, skip cropping, and there you go. Now it makes more sense for a page that doesn't use the transparent header. Now while we're at it, let's scroll down. Click on Site Icon, select Site Icon, and let's select our site icon from the media library. Click on Select. So now this is what the website visitors will see in their browser tab. Let's click on Publish to save our work. Now let's go back, Header Builder, and this time let's click on Transparent Header. And to make things more obvious, let's click on the Home, because the Home is using the transparent header. Next, click on the Design tab, and for the text color, make sure the normal state is set to color 2, and the hover state is set to color 6. So right now it makes our menu not visible, but that's simply because the current images are with a light background, whereas the images we're going to use in the rest of this website are with a darker background. So if you want to use a transparent header for your website, this is the type of things that you need to consider. Now, if you look at the bottom of the screen, we have a representation of the header builder. Here we have our site title and logo, then our primary menu and our button. And we can just drag and drop elements. So as you can see here, I've changed now the navigation is here and the button is here, but it doesn't really make sense. So let me put it back. But for example, I could say, hey, I want the button here on top, and there you go. Or I want it at the bottom. So you get the idea. It's drag and drop, All you need to do is let your imagination flow. Now, with this web demo, everything is already set and studied to convert. So the best thing to do is to actually leave it as it is, at least for the time being. Okay, there's two more things we need to take care of. The first one is we're going to change the width of our header. So for that, we're going to go back one step, then go to design. And where it says width, instead of content width, we're going to change it to full width. Awesome. Another thing we need to change in our header is our call to action, so that we can maintain brand consistency with the type of buttons that we will put in the content pages. So for that, we're going to hover over the call to action button in our header and click on the pencil icon. So by default, you may land on the General tab. So all you need to do is click on the Design tab. Next, where you see text color, we're going to pick color number 6. And for the hover color, we're going to pick color number 9. Next, where you see background color, for the normal state, we're going to pick color number 5. And for the hover state, color number 1. And the same thing for the border color. Color number 5 for the normal state, and color number 1 for the hover state. Next, where you see border radius, you want to click on the link icon, and then we're just going to type 90. So now we got 90 all around, and as you can see, it's now a rounded button. Now this was just about the cosmetics, but right now the call to action button is linked to a phone number, which means that when clicked, it will try to launch the phone app of your system. And we will keep it like this for the rest of the tutorial, but in case you want to link to a page, here's how to do it. So go back to the General tab and let's change this label. Contact, for example. Then in WordPress, you want to go to Pages, All Pages, and then hover over the name of the page you want to link to, and right click on View, and then just click on Copy Link. Next, go back to the Astra Customizer, and where it says Link, we're just going to replace it by the link we just copied. And now, if you click on Contact, it will take you to the contact page. So you get the idea. But as mentioned, for the rest of this tutorial, we will keep the phone number call to action. Alright, so let's publish our work. And let's go back to WordPress by clicking on this icon. Now let's go back to Appearance, Menus, and click on the little arrow next to Privacy Policy, and click on Remove. Next, click on Save Menu. Next, let's take care of our footer. So in WordPress, you want to go to Astra, Customize, then click on Footer Builder. And the Footer Builder is pretty much like the Header Builder. Very similar. So here is the visual representation of our footer. Click on the gear icon, then click on the Design tab. And where it says Background, you want to select color number 4. Next, you want to click on Footer Menu, Design tab. And for the link text for the normal state, you want to select color number 2. And for the hover and active states, you want to select color number 5. Click on Publish. Next, you want to hover over the logo and click on the pencil icon, or click straight here where it says HTML1. And this, by the way, is a widget. And you see in a moment that we can add and remove widgets. So I'm going to click on the logo here and just click on Remove in the toolbar. Next, click on Add Media. And I'm going to select the light version of our logo. Click on Insert to Post. And there you go. We've changed the logo. So next, where you see copyright, so as mentioned, this is a widget. I'm just going to hit Remove. Then click on the plus sign. And this time I'm going to select HTML2. Now there are other widgets like social, then you get widget 1, 2, 3, and 4. Click on HTML2. Now click on it one more time here. And here we can change the text. So I'm just going to remove all that and type Privacy Policy. Next, I'm going to select my text and click on the link icon in the toolbar. And then I'm going to start typing the name of my page, Privacy. And here it is. WordPress found it. So Privacy Policy. Click on Apply. And now we've linked to our Privacy Policy page. Click on Publish. Now let's close the customizer. Then hover over the name of our website and click on Visit Site. And now, as you can see, even though the menu is not visible, but as I mentioned, we'll fix that in a later video in this course, you can see the zoom in effect when we hover over the elements, and we have our logo here. Now let's scroll down, and here is our footer that we customized. So as you can see, using a ready-made design was super easy with starter templates. And the same can be said for customizing your identity, your header, and your footer with the Astra customizer. Awesome! Next, Elementor Builder Basics. So the first thing is, how do you access the Elementor Builder? Well, there are two ways. Either you can hover over the name of your website, click on Visit Site, then navigate to the page you want to edit, and then click on Edit with Elementor. Now, the other way is to go back to the dashboard, Pages, then hover over the name of the page you want to edit, and click on Edit with Elementor. And this is the Elementor Builder interface. And talking about user interface, depending on when you're watching this video, you may see this user interface with the toolbar here at the bottom, or this interface with the top toolbar here at the top. And even Elementor themselves are using this new interface. So if you still see the old interface, I'm going to show you how to change that right now. So in WordPress, you want to go to Elementor, Settings, then click on the Features tab, and then scroll down where you see Editor top bar. Change it from default to active. Then scroll down and click on Save Changes. And now if we go back to our page and refresh, there you go. As you can see, we now have the new UI interface with the top bar. Great. Now let's take a look at how to use the Elementor Builder to build pages. So first of all, let's create a new page. So go to Pages, Add New Page. Now let's call it New. And let's click on the eye icon to hide the title. Now let's publish our page. So let's click on Publish, and one more time, Publish. Next, click on Edit with Elementor. Okay, so let's get familiar with this window. So here at the top, we have the top bar, which we're going to come back to in just a moment. Then just below it on the right hand side, you see the content area. And then on the left hand side, you see the widgets area. And you can think of widgets as little tools you're going to use to build your page. So let's go back to the top bar. And if I click on the Elementor icon, first we see the theme builder options, but that's for the pro version. Next, we have history. And let me show you why this is important. So for example, let's say I have a heading that I added here and mistakenly I removed it. Well, I can always go back, click on history, and then see the history timeline. So if I click back, as you can see, I can go back in time to the various elements and the various actions I performed on that page. And that is super powerful, but I must insist that this will only work while the browser tab is open. If you close that browser tab, the history will disappear. But not all is lost, because as you can see here, we have a revisions tab. But there are less events than in the history tab. So let me go back to the revisions tab, and now let's publish our page. Now let me refresh. Now let's go back to history. And as you can see, as expected, the history timeline is completely blank. Now if we go to revisions, we still have 2 events, but every time we're going to save the page. So for example, let me add a heading, click on publish, and next let me add an image. Now let's publish. And now let's refresh our page. Go back to history, revisions, and now we can see we have more events. So I can go back, and right at this point in time is when we added the heading, and then the next one is when we added the image. So as you can see, even if you make a mistake, you can always go back. Okay, next, let's click on the Elementor button. Next, we have the user preferences. Now, as the name says, you can use these to specify your preferences, like for example, changing the user interface color scheme. Next, we have the keyboard shortcuts, and these can be pretty handy. For example, let me close this, and with just a keyboard shortcut, I can toggle the preview mode, or I can toggle the mobile responsive mode. So let's go back to desktop, and let's go back to our normal view. So if you need keyboard shortcuts, they are right here. Next, we have the exit to WordPress button if we just want to go back to the WordPress admin interface. So let's publish to save our settings. And next in the toolbar, we see the plus sign. And when I click on the plus sign, it goes back to the widgets area. And we'll take a look at the widgets in a moment. Now the next icon takes us to the site settings. And here you can change global colors, global fonts, typography, and many more options. Now, as we saw earlier, we have a similar feature within the Astra theme, but we do recommend you do it within the Astra theme for a couple of reasons. Well, first of all, if you do it both in Astra and Elementor, it will be a nightmare to know which setting is set where. And the second reason is that if you set site settings within Elementor, it would only work as long as you're using the Elementor page builder. If for some reason you decide to use another builder later on in time, then you would lose all the settings. So let's close this. And next we see the structure icon, formerly called the inspector. So here we are on a page with very minimal content, but let me show you how it works on a page with more content. So this is our homepage that we previously imported from starter templates. And here in the structure panel, you can see all the different containers. And we'll talk about containers in a moment. But think of a container as a box that's going to stack on top of another box and another box. And this is what you see here as a page. So for example, here, the first container, we're going to rename it Hero by double clicking on it and just typing and then hitting enter. And then the second container is our services. So let's call it services. Let's click on the third container. It takes us there and let's call it testimonials. Then container number 4, about, and finally container number 5, questions. So as you can see, the first useful feature is to be able to organize your page visually, so you know exactly what you're working on. Next, you can open all the various containers and see all the elements. So let's say, for example, I want to access this image. I can just click on it and access the settings right away. Once again, we'll talk about the widgets and the options in a moment. Now, it's also convenient because sometimes it might be tricky to access a specific item and just change its position. Whereas here, I can just drag it and drop it right away. And now, as you can see, the image is below here. Now, it's not ideal. Let me go back. And for this, I can just do a keyboard shortcut. And there you go, back to normal. But you get the idea. With the structure panel, I can just easily access the various elements on the page and manipulate those elements. Now, of course, I could also take that image and place it there, no problem. But let's say I want to access an image that's really below at the bottom of the page. That gets tricky. And that's when it's more interesting to do it in the structure panel. And if you recall what we saw earlier, I can always go back here, go to history, and then just go back one step. Awesome. Next, in our top bar, we see our menu. So for example, let's say I want to edit the contact page. So first of all, make sure you save your current work on this page. Then I can just click on contact. So as you can see, I can just start working on that page right away. So no need to go back to the front end or go back to the WordPress admin. I can just do it all from here. I can also add a new page from here. Next, the gear icon takes us to the page settings. And here you can change the title of the page, add a featured image, change the order of the page, allow comments. You can also hide the title of the page and change the page layout. Next, the responsive mode. So as the icon shows, this is the desktop version. Then I can click here to go to the tablet version and here to go to the mobile version. And I can always resize the handles to make it match the type of device I want to emulate. Now, as you can imagine, in the responsive era, this is super useful. Now, let's save our page. And next is the Finder icon. And the Finder icon is super useful. So let's say I want to edit the home page again. I showed you how you can do it, but I could just type home here in the Finder and then just click on Edit Homepage. And by the way, you can also open the Finder with the shortcut Command+E on a Mac or Control+C on a Windows or Linux PC. So let's close this. Next, we have the help icon, and that takes you straight to the help center. And next we see the page preview icon. So if I click on this, I get redirected to a preview tab. And don't worry if you cannot read the menu or if this button looks a bit weird, because we're going to fix that later in the course. So let's go back. Next, we have our publish button. So if I make a change here, now I can publish. Or if I click on the arrow, I can save as a draft, which means it won't be published. Or I can save as a template, which means I can reuse the whole of that page to create another page, for example. But right now, let me just go back to how it was and just click on publish. Okay, next, let's take a look at how we can add and manipulate content. But for that, let's go back to the new page we created previously. So this was our page. Let me remove this. So for the time being, I'm going to close the structure panel. And as I mentioned, here we see all the widgets, and you can think of widgets as tools you will need to build your page. So for example, I can add a heading, then click on the plus sign, then drag and drop an image just below it. And for each widget that I add, I have a set of options. So the best way to select a widget is to click on the pencil icon. Now, you can also just click on the widget itself, like here I clicked on the image widget, but sometimes it may be tricky depending on which widget you're trying to select. So the best way is to click on the pencil icon. And here you can see we have the content, style, and advanced tab. And the purpose for these is pretty self-explanatory. Now, as you will see, let's go back to the content tab. Here I selected the heading. And how do I know this? Except from the fact that I can see it. Well, right here you see the name of the widget. So if I select the second widget, as you can see, the name changed. Now, take a look at the content tab here. This is for the image widget. Now, keep on looking at that panel while I'm going to switch. So now I'm going to switch to the heading. And now you can see a different set of options. That's going to be the same for the style tab and the advanced tab. Now, some options will be common between widgets, but some will be very specific. Now, there are many widgets you can use in the free version. So let me click on the plus sign. And as you can see, you can add a button. Let me click on the plus sign again. You see you can add a divider, spacer, Google Maps. You can add icons. Now, these here are for the pro version. So let me close this. But then you also get the general icons like image carousel, progress bar, testimonial, and so on. And this is how you build your pages. Now, if you take a look, we can see our widgets here, but then here you can see there is some kind of container around it that's wrapping all the content. Now, you may be wondering, why do you even need this? You can just have your heading, your button, your image, and that's it. Well, with containers, you have more power. Think of containers as a box where you can put several items, and then you can manipulate the position of that box compared to the page itself or to other boxes. Now, let me quickly show you. So I'm just going to close this, and I'm going to click on the plus sign. If I click on the plus sign, Elementor is asking me, oh, which type of structure do you want? So let's say, for example, I want this structure here. So let me click on it. So now we have a container, and let's open our structure panel. So I'm going to click on the icon here and expand my container. And as you can see, I have two containers within this one container. So let me show you. Let me click on the plus sign. And here I'm just going to drag and drop an image in the left container. And let me click on the plus sign again. And this time I'm going to drag a heading widget on the right hand side. And let's also add a button widget. So let me drag it just below our heading. And now if we take a look, we have our image here, and then we have our text and button on the right hand side. So let's go back to the interface. And now let me show you something. As I select my container, I can actually manipulate the content within that container. So by selecting my main container either here or here in the structure panel, you see here an option that says direction. Now take a look at this. Right now it's set to horizontal, but with one click, I can change it to vertical. And now we have a completely different layout. Now I know it doesn't look good, but of course we would style it in a real life scenario, but you get the idea of how powerful that is. So let's go back. So first of all, let's go back to the row horizontal setup, and let's take a look at how we can edit the content. So let me close my structure panel, and first let's take a look at text. Well, for text, super easy. Just double click and just type what you want. As simple as that. Now what I just typed here is also visible in the content panel, but if I want to style it, I can go to style and I can change its color. Let me click on the global colors, and here I can choose one of the theme colors that we set in Astra. So let me select theme color number 1, and there you go. Next, how to work with buttons. So first of all, let me select my button, and here in the content panel, I can change its label. So let me change it to home, and I can change the link. So by default, you see the pound sign. Let me remove it, and let me start typing the name of the page, and there you go. Elementor found it. It's our home page. So let me click on it. And now if we save our page, and we'll see that in a moment, if we click on that button, it will take us to the home page. But we could also link to an external page, and we'll also see that in a moment. So next we can change the alignment of the button, and we can also change its size. We can decide if we want to add an icon by clicking on the icon library. And for example, let me type home to find a home icon. Let me click on it and click on insert. And you can't really see it right now because the colors are not ideal, but this is what we're going to change next. So click on the style tab, and now let's change the text color. So you can either click on the little globe here and use one of the global colors in the color palette, or you can click here on the right hand side and choose any color you want. But for a more maintainable and scalable website, it's better to use the global palette that we set earlier in this course. So I'm going to go back and click on the globe icon here and select one of our theme colors. And as you can see now, the button is readable. Now we could also change the background. So by default it's set to classic color, but we could add a gradient. But for this tutorial, let's go back to classic. And here I could also change the color. Next here, I can control the border radius. So let's say I wanted a round style button. Well, here it is. And next here, I can change the padding, which is the space between the edge of the button and the text, but I'm not going to do this now. So let me go back to content and back to our icon. We can actually set the position before as it is by default or after. We can even change the spacing between the text and the icon. Now let's right click on this button widget, hit duplicate, select the second button. And now we're going to change the text to Google. And next I'm going to remove the URL and replace it by the google.com URL. Now let's click on publish. And now if you preview our page, if I click here, as you can see, it takes me to the home page. Now let me go back. And if I click here, it's taking me straight to Google as it should. All right, let's go back. And now let's take a look at how we can use images. So the first type of image is this, is the image widget. So I can just click on my image. And then here in the content tab, I can click on choose image. And then I can pick any image in my image gallery. So for example, let's pick this one. As simple as that. Next, we have the background style images. So for this, let me open my structure and let's make sure we select our main container here. Then I go to style, and where you see background, you have classic, and with classic, you can add an image, or you have gradient, video, or slideshow. So let's go back to classic, click on the plus sign, and now I'm going to select another image. So let's pick this one, click select. And as you can see now, we have an image in the background. Now it looks completely gigantic, but we're going to fix that. So where you see repeat, click on the drop down, select no repeat. And for the display size, click on the drop down and select cover. Now you can also change the position of the background image. So click on the drop down and let's make it center, for example. And as you can see, it did just that. Now that we have a background image, it's not really readable anymore. You can't really read the title. It's a bit messy, right? And that's why we have the background overlay tab right below. So where you see background type, click on classic. And now we're just going to pick a color. So let's pick a color from a global color palette. Let's pick this color. And then we can use the opacity slider to make it darker or lighter. So now if we make it darker, now the content is visible again. But of course, you may want to use a different color. So you really have to play with the contrast here. Now later in the video, I will show you how to make sure your websites are fully responsive. So basically when you go to the tablet and mobile mode, you can really edit the settings specifically for that device. So you could have a different size for the heading. Here, for example, let me click on the heading, click on typography, and here I can change the size. Let me make it really extreme so that you see the difference. And now if I cycle through the various modes, so here in the desktop, take a look at the heading size. And now if we go back to the mobile, you can see that it remembers that we want a different size for the mobile version. So as mentioned, we'll take a look at that later in the course. Now let's go back to the desktop version and let's go back to our interface. And basically I showed you how to manipulate text, buttons, and images because these are the most common. But the same principles apply when you're going to use another widget. Basically, it's logic-based. Just look at the content tab, the style tab. And at this stage, you may not want to go into the advanced tab, but the time is surely going to come as you get better with Elementor. Now, last but not least, the style tab offers you a ton of options when it comes to styling the content of your page. Like for example, here I showed you we can change the size. I can make it gigantic. I can change the weight, make it bold. I can transform it to uppercase. I can style it to italic, change its decoration, change the line height, the letter spacing, the word spacing, and so on. But you want to be conservative with all of these options because that's what makes the difference between looking professional and looking amateurish. If you use too many bells and whistles, it may not have the final look that you wanted initially. So use your new powers wisely. Next, how to build the homepage of our website. Now, this course is free, and in order to allow a maximum of people to follow along, all the tools used in this course are also free. And even if you don't have a web hosting and domain, you could always create a website locally on your machine with tools like Local by Flywheel, for example. But if you want to take this to the next level, you may want to consider an even more powerful combo with the Essential or Business Toolkits from Astra, which will not only give you access to priority support, but also access to several premium plugins like Astra Pro, premium starter templates, but also access to the ultimate add-ons for Elementor plugin, a popular all-in-one add-on that enhances Elementor's capabilities, offering more than 50 cool widgets, like the content toggle widget, the before and after slider widget, or the popular hotspots widget, just to name a few, as well as 200 plus pre-built blocks for all of your Elementor needs. Because most probably, once you're done with this course and realize that there is no limit to what you want to create, you will want to take it to the next level. Now, I will get back to this later in the course, but if you're interested, you will find a link to get ultimate add-ons for Elementor in the description below. Okay, now let's start building our homepage. Now, as you may recall, at the beginning of this course, we imported a ready-made website with the Starter Templates plugin. This ready-made website came with the homepage, the About page, the Services page, and the Contact page. Ready? So let's get started. So in WordPress, you want to go to Pages, All Pages, then hover over Home and click on Edit with Elementor. And the first thing you want to do is select our container. So you can either select here or here in the Structure panel. Next, go to the Style tab. And as you can see here, we get a prompt that the image doesn't contain all text, which is necessary for accessibility and SEO. Now, in case you don't know, SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, and this is beyond the scope of this course, but basically a good practice is to do it as you go, adding the description of the image you are dealing with. But we'll discuss about the best practices in a later lesson. For the time being, click on Choose Image, and we're going to pick this image from our media library. Then click on Select. Great. Now we can start changing our text. So let's open our course files. Go into the text subfolder and open the home text file. So in the text file, you can see it's organized by container, the hero container, services, testimonials, and so on. So the first thing we're going to do is to copy each container label, and we're going to mirror it here in the structure panel. And in case you forgot to open the structure panel, all you need to do is click on the structure panel icon. Next, let's double click on the first container and let's paste the name we just copied. So let's repeat the operation for each container. All right, now let's go back up to our hero container. And now we can start copying and pasting the text. So the first one is websites, and this is the one we want to change. But as you can see, it's a bit complicated because it's overlapping with another heading. So that's when the structure panel comes in handy, because we can see here, it's this heading here that we want to edit. So now that we've selected the heading here, we can change the text right here on the left panel. I'm just going to paste it here. Awesome. Next, let me go to Style, and let's align it on the right-hand side. Great. Let's go back to our text file. Let's copy the second line. Now let's select our second heading, content, and let's repeat the operation. Then one more time, go to the Style tab and align on the right-hand side. Next, let's go back to our text file. Let's select our third line. Let's go back. Now let's select our text editor here in the structure panel. And I'm going to remove everything and paste what we just copied. And then once again, go to Style and Align on the right hand side. Next, let me close the structure panel so we can see what we're doing. And I'm just going to hover over the button and click on the pencil icon. Now, as mentioned earlier, this button is currently not doing its job because it's invisible, the colors are bad, and it doesn't match our brand. So let's take care of it now. So first of all, here in the Content tab, let's change the text to Discover. And where you see link, right after the £, type Services. Now, this is what is called an anchor link, which means we're just going to link to another spot on this very page. So we're going to stay on the page, and I'll show you that in a moment. But first, let's finish styling our button. So where you see icon, click on the icon library, then type down, and let's pick this one, chevron down. Click insert. Icon position should be set to after, and icon spacing should be set to 12. Next, click on the Style tab, and where it says Typography, click on the pencil icon, and let's decrease the size to 13 pixels. Next, in the Transform dropdown, select Uppercase. Great, let's close this. And now for the colors. So for the text color, let's pick color number 6 from our global color palette. And for the background color, let's pick color number 5. Now for the border type, you want to select Solid. The border width should be 1 pixel all around, and the border color should be set to color number 5. Next, click on the Hover subtab, and once again the text color should be set to color number 6, the background color set to color number 5, and the same for the border color, color number 5. Next, where you see border radius, type 90. So now, as you can see, we are consistent with our call to action button in our header. Now, earlier on, I told you that when we click on Discover, that would take us to another spot on the same page, an anchor link. So if you recall, let me go back to the Content tab. We give it a link, # Services. So what we need to do now is select our Services section. And once again, if you're not sure, open the Structure panel, click on Services. Then let's go to Advanced, and where you see CSS ID, you want to give it Services as a name, exactly like this. Don't put the #, just Services, which is the label we gave it in the button link. So now let me go into preview mode, and as I click on Discover, magically it's taking us to our Services section. As easy as that. So let me go back to our interface and let's click on Publish. Great. So now we can continue editing the content of our page. So for that, let's go back to our text file and let's copy our first line. And this is our title. So I'm just going to paste it right here. Great. Now let's take care of our images. So let's select our first image, click on the pencil icon, click on Choose Image, and we're going to select this image here. Then click on Select, and onto the second image. Let's repeat the process. Choose Image, and this time let's pick this image. Click on Select, and onto the third image. One more time, Choose Image, and this time we're going to pick this image here. Then click on Select, and earlier on I mentioned brand consistency, which means that you should have some kind of brand guideline so that there is a consistency throughout the design of your website and of your brand. So for that, let's select the first image. Let's go to the Style tab, and where you see border radius, let's give this image a border radius of 5. And now as you can see, the corners are a bit more rounded, which is in line with our buttons and call to actions. And now if you want to apply the same effect to the other images, it's super easy. Let's just right click on the first image, click on Copy, then right click on the second image and click on Paste Style. And let's repeat the operation for the third image. Paste style. So now we saved a lot of time to do exactly the same thing. Now that's great, but I would like to add something that was not in the imported ready-made website. And it's simply that I'd like to add a button that would take us to the next section. Now you may be wondering, why do we even need this? People can just scroll, right? Well, yes and no. First of all, it's always better to have a kind of funnel where you show people what to do. Click here, click there. It's a proven tactic. It just works. And second, if you're on a mobile, you're going to be scrolling. So sometimes a little help to go faster where you want to go on the page is always appreciated. So for that, we need to create a new container. And the structure panel will be super handy for that. So first of all, let me collapse everything. And I'm just going to open our services container. And as you can see, we have a subcontainer, which in turn contains the rest of our content, namely a heading, a divider, and another subcontainer that contains all of our services. So basically what I want to do is to add a button at that same level, so just below the container. So now what I'm going to do is select the last element here, which is our container, then right click on add new container. So it's this one right here. Then I'm going to click on the plus sign and click on button. As you can see, by default, the buttons come with inappropriate colors and shape. Now I showed you earlier on how we can copy and paste styles, so that's what we're going to do right now. So first of all, let's scroll back up, then let's select our button. And before we copy, there's one more thing we want to change. So let's go to style, then click on the hover subtab, and where you see hover animation, type Bob and click on it. So now when we hover over the button, you can see this hovering effect. So next, right click on copy, and now let's scroll down, then select our button here, right click, and click on paste style. Awesome. Now let's go back to our project file, copy the label, go back, and let's change this label. Next, where it says link, right after the pound sign, you want to type testimonials, exactly written like this. Then let's select our icon library, type down, and once again select chevron down. Then click on insert and make sure the icon position is set to after. And once again, if you want this to work, you need to select the testimonials container, either by clicking here on the 6 dots or by opening the structure panel, and let me collapse all of this, and selecting the testimonials container right here. Then go to advanced, and where you see CSS ID, you want to write testimonials. Now, the best way to not make a mistake is just to click back on the button, just copy the text here that you put right after the pound sign, right click, copy, and then select the testimonials container, go to advanced, CSS ID, and right click and paste. So now you're sure there is no typo whatsoever. And once again, if you go into preview mode, click on testimonials, and it works as it should. So let's go back to our interface and let's save our work. Next, the testimonials container. So just click on the image here. It's a bit hard to see, but it's a quote image. So click on the image, then click on choose image, and we're going to select this image here. Next, click on select, and voila. Next, let's select our text here. And as you can see, it's a heading widget. Click on the style tab, and where you see text color, let's pick color number 6. Now let's go back to our project text file. Let's select our text, copy, and back with our heading selected, go to the content tab, and let's replace the original text. Next, you want to click on the text just below the photo, then go to the style tab, and where you see text color, we're going to pick color number 9. Great. So as usual, let's click on publish to save our work. And let's move on to the about us container. And as usual, let's copy the text from the course files. So for the button, let's change the label. But this time for the link, we don't want an anchor link. We want a real link that's going to take us to the About Us page. So I'm just going to start typing About, and there you go. Elementor found it. This is the About page. So I'm just going to click on it. And now this button is going to link to the About page. So as usual, I'm just going to scroll back up, right click on the button, copy. Then let me scroll down, right click on my button here, and click on Paste Style. So just a few tweaks to do. So with my button selected, first of all, I want to align it on the left-hand side. And then where it says icon, let me click on icon library. And this type, I'm going to type right. Next, I'm going to select chevron right, click on insert, and make sure the icon position is set to after. So now that gives a visual clue that is taking the user somewhere else and not down on the page, if that makes sense. Great. Let me scroll back up. Let me close the structure panel and let me select this image here. Then click on choose image and we're going to select this image here. Next, click on select. Awesome. Let's click on publish and let's scroll down. So this is our last container for the page, and if you open the structure panel and collapse everything by clicking on this icon, you can see it's our call to action banner. So let's select it, and first where it says minimum height, you want to change the unit to VH and change the value to 75. Next, you want to go to advanced, and where it says padding, let's give it a padding of 40 pixels all around. And in case you don't know, the padding of a container is the distance between the edge of the container and the content. And basically it gives white space around the content and makes it look more professional. So next, with our container selected, click on the Style tab, click on Choose Image, and we're going to select this image here. Then click on Select. Great, but now as you can see, it's going to be hard to read the text. So for that, we need to add a background overlay. So collapse the background tab and click on background overlay. Then where you see background type, select gradient. And for the first color, click on the globe icon and let's pick theme color number 4. For the second color, it should be set to theme color number 5. So that's already much better, but of course we need to change the color of the text. So let's select our first heading, then go to our course file, copy the text, and replace it here. Then go to style, and where you see text color, let's set it to theme color number 6. Then let's select our second line, go to our course file, copy the second line, then back, and let's replace the text. Then once again, go to style, text color, and set it to color number 6. Now let's go back to our course file and copy the button label text. Then go back and select the button and replace the text. And this time we want to link it to the contact page. So let me remove the pound sign, type contacts, and Elementor found it. This is our contact page, so click on it. Now let's scroll back up. Let's right click on this button, copy. Then let's scroll back down, right click on our button and paste style. Now make sure you select the button and let's change the alignment to center. Click on the icon library, type right, and let's select chevron right. Then click on insert and make sure the icon position is set to after. Next, click on style, set the text color to color number 5, select the background color to color number 6, and the border color to color number 6 as well. Next, click on the hover subtab. Text color should be set to theme color number 6. Background color should be set to color number 4, as well as the border color number 4. And let's click on publish to save our work. Next, finishing touches. So we're almost done, but there's a couple of things we want to take care of. The first one is the size of the hero section. And the second one is about the visibility of the transparent header. So let's start with the first one. So in WordPress, hover over the name of your website and click on Visit Site. Next, click on Edit with Elementor. And now we want to select our hero section. We can either click here on the 6 dots or here in the structure panel. So once the hero section is selected, go to the left panel and where you see minimum height, you want to change the unit to VH and then you want to change the value to 85. And voila, that was super easy. So let's click on publish to save our work. And if I go back to the front end and refresh, there you go. Much better. Now let's take care of the second issue, which is the visibility of the menu in the transparent header. Because depending on which image you're using, the menu will be more or less visible in the transparent header. So back in the Elementor builder and still with our hero section selected, you want to go to Style, then you want to close the background subtab and open the background overlay subtab. Next, click on the gradient icon. Now for the first color, you can basically pick any color. Then click on the color itself and drag the opacity slider all the way to the left to make it completely transparent. And next, where you see second color, you want to open the global colors and it's going to be color number 4. Next, for location, you want to change it to 73%. And next, where you see angle, you want to change it from 180 to 90 degrees. Next, we want to change the opacity and bump it to 0.8. Great. Let's save our work. And now if we go back to the front end and refresh, and there you go. As you can see, the menu is now perfectly visible. Now you can do this on a page per page basis because this is super flexible. It basically allows you to use any image you want. All you need to do is to change the gradient to make your navigation visible. But if you want to use the same gradient we use for this page, you should be pretty safe for the rest of the website. Now there's one last thing we can change. We can see there's a big gap here between the hero section and the next container. So back in the Elementor builder, let's select the next container. Once again, by clicking on the 6 dots here or here in the structure panel. Then you want to go to advanced, and where you see padding top, we want to change it from 70 to 40. Then click on publish. And now if we go back to the front end and refresh our page, there you go. And here's what we created. So first we got this beautiful hero section, and if we click on discover, it's taking us to the my services container. Now, as we scroll down, we can see our images with our rounded corner. And once again, we can go to the testimonial section. Then we have the About Us page. And if I click on it, it takes us to the About Us page as intended. So let me go back. And now let's scroll down. And if I click on our button here, it's taking me to the Contact Us page, as it should. So as you can see, with the imported ready-made website as well as the course file, building the homepage was a breeze. And it should now give you a pretty good idea of how to edit the rest of the website. Next, editing the About page. Okay, so first of all, you want to go to Pages, All Pages. And before we edit the About page, we need to go to the Home page. So hover over Home and click on Edit with Elementor. Then scroll down. And let's select our last container, which is our call to action banner. And if you want to be sure, just click on the structure panel and it's the one right here. So we can either right click here and click on copy, or you could do it right here with the 6 dots and click on copy. Now let's get out of here. So click on the Elementor logo, click on exit to WordPress, then click on the logo in the top left corner because we want to go back to the WordPress admin. So accept the prompts. And this time hover over About and click on Edit with Elementor. So the first thing we're going to do is scroll all the way down and you see this space here. Right click and paste. And if you followed the previous video about how to build a homepage, you know the drill now. First of all, we're going to rename our containers. So for that, first of all, I'm going to open the course files, click on the text subfolder. And then I'm going to open the text file for the About page. And I can see here, the first one is the page header container. So let me copy this. And back in the Elementor builder, let me double click on the name of the first container and paste what I just copied. Now let's repeat the operation for the other 2 containers. Great. Now let's scroll back up. Let's select our page header. Then where you see minimum height, change the unit to VH and change the value to 85. Next, click on the Style tab, choose Image, and we're going to pick this image here. Then click on Select. Now let's change the position to Center. And next, let's click the Background subtab and let's open the Background Overlay subtab. Next, where it says background type, select gradient. So the first color doesn't really matter, but what you need to do is to drag the opacity slider all the way to the left to make it completely transparent. Then let's close this. Next, location should be set to 0, and the second color should be set to global color number 4. Next, the location of the second color should be set to 73%, and the angle should be set to 90 degrees. Next, opacity should be set to 0.8. And there you go. So let's save to save our work. And let's move on to the presentation container. So let's go back to our project files. Let's select the first text for the presentation container, hit copy, and then back, let's select our heading and let's replace the text. Next, let's scroll down. Let me close the structure panel. Let's select our image, click on choose image, and we're going to pick this image here. Then click on select. Awesome. Now let's scroll down and let's replace the text by the text in our course files. Copy. Let's replace the text by pasting. And for the second one, same thing. Let's copy the text. Let's select the text we want to replace. And let's paste the copied text. Next, let's scroll down. Let's select our image here. Click on choose image. And let's select this image here. Then click on select. Next, let's select our heading here. Then back to our project files and copy. And back in the Elementor builder, let me replace the text. Then click on style, text color, and let's set it to theme color number 6. Next, let's click on the text just below the image, go to style, text color, and let's set it to theme color number 9. And next, let's click on publish to save our work. And now let's click on the preview changes icon. And there you go. As you can see, we have a beautiful hero section. Then we have our introductory text. We have an image, our mission, our values, a testimonial, and finally, our call to action banner. Next, how to build the services page of our website. So first of all, in WordPress, you want to go to Pages, All Pages. And before we edit the services page, we're going to open the About page. So hover over About and click on Edit with Elementor. And first, we're going to select our first container here. So you can either click here on Edit Container, or you can open the Structure panel and select the page header container here. Next, right-click and click on Copy. Next, click on the Elementor icon in the top left, click on Exit to WordPress, then click on the logo in the top left corner, accept the prompt because you want to go back to the WordPress admin, and then in Pages, All Pages, you want to hover over Services and click on Edit with Elementor. Next, you want to hover over the first container and click on the plus sign, then right-click and paste. So as you may imagine, it's way more convenient to copy that container from the About Us page and paste it here instead of having to change the settings again just for that hero section on this page, because more than likely the hero sections are going to be the same from one page to the other, with maybe the exception of the home page. So next we can delete this container here. So just click on delete. Let's scroll back up. And first of all, let's select our container, then go to style, click on choose image, and let's select this image here. Next, click on select. And next, let's open our course files and click on the text subfolder. And next, open the text file for the services page. And as usual, let's rename our containers. So the first one we copied from the About Us page, so it's already renamed. And the second one is web design. Copy and paste. The third one is graphic design. Copy and paste. The next one is branding. Copy and paste. And the next one is credibility. Copy and paste. Now let me scroll back up to the second one, and now we can change the text. Now let's go back to our project files. Let's copy the text for web design service. Now let's select our text editor and let's replace the text. Next, let's remove the price. So for that, I'm going to right click on the pencil icon and click on delete. Now for the button, let's copy a button from a previous page. So let's click on publish to save our work. Then click on the Elementor icon, exit to WordPress, click on the logo in the top left, accept the prompt, and let's open the About page. So hover over it and click on Edit with Elementor. Now let's scroll down, right click on the button and click on Copy. Now let's go back. So click on the Elementor logo, exit to WordPress, and you know the drill now. Click on the logo, accept the prompt, hover over Services and click on Edit with Elementor. Now, of course, if you're going to do a lot of copying and pasting between pages, it makes more sense to actually open a new tab, copy the elements you need, and then just go back to the current tab and paste what you need. So that being said, let's scroll down and let's right click on our button and paste style. So now we need to do a little bit of tweaking. So with our button selected, first of all, I'm going to remove the pound sign, type contact, and select the contact page. Then let's align the button on the left, click on icon library, type right, and let's select chevron right. Then click on insert and make sure the icon position is set to after. Next, click on style. Text color should be set to theme color number 5. Now for the background color, you actually want to click on the color here and drag the opacity slider all the way to the left. Now the border color should be set to theme color number 5. And now click on the hover subtab. Text color should be set to theme color number 6. Background color should be set to theme color number 5. And border color should be set to theme color number 5. So now when you hover over it, this is how it looks. Great, let's hit publish to save our work. And let's keep on editing. So first of all, let's select our image here. Click on change image. And let's select this image here. Next, click on select. Then click on the style tab, and where you see border radius, you want to type 5 all around. And next, let's right click on the image, copy, and we're just going to paste the style for the other two services. So right click, paste style, and the same thing for the last one, right click, paste style. Great. Now let's go back up and let's edit our graphic design service. So once again, let's go back to the course files and let's select the text for the graphic design service. Copy, then let's select our text editor and let's replace the text. Next, let's remove the price, right click, delete. Now let's scroll back up, let's right click on our button, click on copy, and this time instead of just pasting the style, we're going to right click on our button and just paste because it already has the right link, so it's less work. And let's remove this one, so right click and delete. Let's repeat the operation for the last service while we're at it. Right click, paste, and let's delete the first one, delete. All right, let's scroll back up. Next, let's select our image, click on change image, and this time we're going to select this image here. Click on select, awesome. Now let's scroll down and let's replace the text with the text in the course files. So select, copy, let's select the text editor, remove the text and paste. Now let me make the paragraphs separated. Next, let's remove the price, delete. Then let's select our image, click on choose image, and let's select this image here. Then hit select. Great. Now let's click on publish to save our work and let's scroll down. So first of all, let's replace the text. So let's go back to our course files, copy, and let's paste item by item. Copy, and let's replace, copy, and paste. Next, let's style. So let's select the first heading, then go to style, and where you see text color, let's select theme color number 2. Then let's select the next item, which is a text editor widget. Go to style, text color, and select text color number 6. Now let's just right click, copy, and then right click on this one here and paste style. Next, let's take care of our badges. So click on the pencil icon of the first badge, then go to style, click on the icon subtab, and where you see primary color, you want to select theme color number 4. And then for secondary color, you want to pick theme color number 5. Next, click on the content subtab, and where you see color, you want to pick theme color number 2. Next, right click on the first icon box, click on copy, and then click on the second one, paste style, and repeat the operation for icon box number 3 and icon box number 4. Next, select the whole container, then go to style, background, and where you see color, you want to pick theme color number 4. So we're almost done, but there's one more thing we need to do. So let's scroll back up And if you recall, we forgot to change the name of our page in the hero section. So let's do that now. And click on Publish. Next, click on the Preview Changes icon. And as you can see, we have our beautiful hero section. Then we have each service detailed. And if you click on any of the call to action buttons, it takes us to the contact page. Now let me go back. And if we scroll down, the last container is about the advantages of working with digital force. Next, how to build the contact page of our website. So first of all, you want to go to Pages, All Pages. And before we can edit the contact page, we're going to open the Services page. So hover over Services and click on Edit with Elementor. And here we're going to select our first container. So either here by clicking on the 6 dots, or you can open the Structure panel and select it here. Then right click, click on Copy. And now let's click on the Elementor icon, exit to WordPress. Then let's click on the icon in the top left, accept the prompt because we just want to go back to the WordPress admin. And then in Pages, All Pages, you want to hover over Contact and click on Edit with Elementor. Next, you want to hover over the first container and click on the plus sign. Then right click and paste. And right away, we're going to change the text to Contact. And then let's select our container one more time. Click on the Style tab. Click on Choose Image, and let's select this image. Click on Select. Awesome. Next, let's open the course files and let's click on the text subfolder. And next, let's open the text file for the contact page. Let's rename our containers. So as usual, organizing the name of your containers is going to help you in the long run. So the first one we copied from the services page, so it's already renamed. So let's rename the other containers. Copy. Now let's go back to the Elementor interface. And first of all, let's delete the previous hero container. Next, let's double click on our container, paste. And then as you can see, we have several containers and subcontainers. And when we get to the last level, we're going to rename those. So let's go back to our course files. Here we have the left container and the right container. So copy and paste. Now let's go back one more time. And here is the last container. Copy, double click and paste. So let's hit publish to save our work. Now let's scroll back up and let's change the text here. And actually here, the only thing we need to change is the email address. But of course, in a real life scenario, you would put your own real email address. Next, let's close the structure panel, hover over the form, click on the pencil icon. And as you can see, it's just a shortcode. And basically this shortcode tells WordPress the form functionality is from a plugin, and this is where you find it. Here it says ID 25 because that's the entry in the database. But don't worry, it's way simpler than you may think. Now we'll talk about the form functionality in a moment, but right now we want to style this button. Now for the form functionality, we're using the free version of a plugin called WP Forms. So if you want to change the styling, you can either use CSS if you know what that is, but there is a simpler way. So in WordPress, you want to go to Astra, Customize, then go to Global, Buttons, and here we can set a default button style. And that's what we're going to do because by default, WP Forms takes the styling from your WordPress theme. In this case, it's Astra. So let's get to it. So for the text color, let's select color number 6. And for the hover state, color number 9. Next, for the background color, for the standard state, color number 5. And for the hover state, color number 4. Next, you want to scroll down and where you see border radius, make sure you click on the link icon and then type 90. Next, click on publish. And now if you go back to our form, first of all, let's click on publish to save our work. Let's hit refresh. Now let's scroll down. And as you can see, we've changed the styling of the button. Now let's talk about the form functionality. So back in the WordPress admin, you want to hover over WP Forms, then click on All Forms. And here you see the contact form that was created initially when we imported the ready-made website. Click on Edit. And here you can add more fields. So let's say I want to have a first name field. I could click on name, and then I can just drag and drop it exactly where I want. And now it will be part of our form. But for the time being, I'm just going to delete this. Next, you want to go to settings. And here you can change the form name. If you have several forms on your website, you can give your form a description, change the submit button text, as well as the processing text. Next, you have spam protection and security. So here you can connect to several services. Next, we have notifications. And by default, when someone sends a form, an email is sent to the WordPress administrator email. But you can remove this and just type any email address that you want. So for example, I'm going to type my email address, then click on save. And now if I go to the front end of my website, let me fill in that form. Hit send message. So here I got my confirmation, which by the way, you can edit here in the confirmations tab of the WP form settings. And now the content of the form is sent straight to my email. Okay, let's get back to the contact page in the Elementor builder and let's scroll to the last container. Next, let's select our container by clicking on the 6 dots, then go to style, color, and let's pick color number 4. But now our text is not visible. So let's select our text, go to style, and for the text color, select theme color number 6. Next, let's replace the images. So let's pick the first one, click on choose image, and first let's pick this image here, then click on select, and where you see border radius, let's make it 5 all around. Next, right click on the first image, copy, and then go to image number 2, right click, and paste style. Now let's repeat the operation for image 3 and image 4. Next, let's select image number 2, click on choose image, and let's select this image here. Next, click on select, then click on image number 3, choose image, let's pick this image, click on select, and last but not least, image number 4, choose image, and let's pick this image here. Then click on select. Alright, let's click on publish to save our work. Next, let's click on the preview changes icon. And as usual, we have a beautiful hero section. And as we scroll down, here is our form that we styled with an on-brand button and changed the administrator email. And finally, we have this who we are section with some of the staff photos. Next, how to add a completely new page to your website and how to edit the navigation accordingly. So in WordPress, you want to go to pages, add new page, and we're going to call it testimonials. Then click on the little I to hide the title. Next, click on the Astra settings icon in the top right corner. And where it says container layout, you want to select full width. Next, click on publish and publish one more time. Next, click on edit with Elementor. And here, click on the plus sign and we're going to select this structure. So click on it. And with our container selected, open the structure panel and let's rename it testimonials. Now let's close this for the time being. And still with our container selected, where it says minimum height, you want to change the unit to VH and you want to change the value to 80 VH. Next, where you see gaps, you want to give it a gaps of 20 pixels for the column and 20 pixels for the row. Next, click on the style tab and where you see background type, click on classic. And for the color, you want to select theme color number 9. And next, click on advanced. And where you see padding, you want to click on the link icon to unlink the values. And you want to give the container a top padding of 60 pixels, a right padding of 40 pixels, a bottom padding of 120 pixels, and a left padding of 40 pixels. Next, let's open the structure panel and let's start renaming the rest of our containers. So as usual, organizing the name of your containers is going to help you in the long run. So let me collapse this. As you can see, if I click here, this is the left subcontainer and this is the right subcontainer, which in turn has two subcontainers. So to make it easier, let's rename it. So the first one is going to be left and the second one right. Now let's expand the right container and the first subcontainer is going to be right top, and the last one is going to be right bottom. So let's select the left container, then go to Style, Background, Background type Classic, and the color should be set to theme color number 5. Next, click on Advanced and give it a padding of 40 pixels all around. Next, in the structure panel, click on the right top container, change the minimum height unit to VH, and give it a value of 34. Now let's do the same thing for the right bottom container. Let's change the unit to VH and let's give it a value of 34. Now let's click on Publish to save our work. Next, in the left container, click on the plus sign. And now let's drag and drop an image widget. Click on Choose Image. Now let's select this image here. Then click on Select. Click on Style. And let's change the width value to pixels. And the same thing for the max width. And now let's give it a value of 37 pixels for each. And for the opacity, let's give it an opacity of 0,3. Next, click on the plus sign and start typing testimonial. Now let's drag and drop a testimonial widget just below. And next, let's open our course files, click on the text subfolder, and let's open the text file for the testimonials page. Next, let's copy the text for the first testimonial, and let's replace it here. And let's do the same thing for the name and for the title. Next, click on Choose Image, and let's pick this image here. Then click on Select. Next, click on the Style tab, and where you see Text Color, we're going to select Theme Color number 6. Next, click on the Name subtab, and for the text color, let's select Theme Color number 2. And next, click on the Title subtab, and for the text color, let's pick Theme Color number 9. Awesome, but now we want to center the content. So make sure you select the left container, then go to the Layout tab, and where it says Justify Content, you want to align it in the center, and where it says Align Items, you also want to align it in the center. Next, let's hit Publish to save our work, and next you want to select the right top container, then go to Style, and where you see Background Type, click on Classic, and for the background color, we want Theme Color number 1. Next, click on Advanced, and for the padding, let's give it a value of 40 pixels all around. Next, select the right bottom container, go to Style, Background Type, Classic, but this time the color is going to be Theme Color number 4. And once again, go to Advanced and give it a padding of 40 pixels all around. So as you can see, it's looking good, but we want some space between the two sub-containers. So select the right container, then go to Gaps, Row, and give it a value of 20 pixels. All right, let's close the structure panel. Then let's right-click on this image, copy, right-click here in the right top container and hit Paste. Now let's do the same thing in the right bottom container and paste. Next, let's copy the testimonial widget, copy. Now let's right-click on the image in the right top container and hit Paste. Now let's go back to the project files and copy the respective text and just replace it. Let's change the image and let's select this image here. Hit Select, then back into the course file and let's change the text accordingly. Copy and paste. Now go to Style, Typography, and let's give it a size of 17 pixels. Next, right-click, copy. Next, in the right bottom container, right-click on the image and hit Paste. And once again, copy the respective text and replace it. Copy and paste. Copy, and there you go. Next, click on Choose Image, and let's select this image here. Then click on Select. Awesome! Now let's click on Publish to save our work. And if we preview our page, as you can see, it's looking beautiful, simple and to the point. But there is an issue. If you look at the navigation, there's no way we can access this page from the home page or from any other page on our website. So how do we edit our navigation? Well, it's super simple. So first of all, let me go back into the normal view and let's go back to the WordPress admin. So click on the Elementor icon, exit to WordPress, click on the logo in the top corner. And next you want to go to Appearance, Menus. And right here we can see the testimonials page, but if you can't find it, you can go to View All or to Search. So here I'm just going to select Testimonials and click Add to Menu. And next I'm going to drag and drop it right between Services and Contact. And then I'm going to click on Save Menu. And now if I go in the top left corner and hover over the name of the website, click on Visit Site. As you can see, now we can see the testimonials page in the navigation. And if I click on it, it takes me right there. Now there's one more thing we need to add on this page, and it's simply the title of the page. So for that, you want to click on Edit with Elementor. Next, we're going to drag and drop a heading widget just above this image right here. So you may have to play around a little bit with it before you release and then release. Now let's change the title to Testimonials. For the HTML tag, let's give it a tag of H1. Then go to Style, and for the text color, let's select Theme Color 9. And for the typography, let's give it a size of 40. Next, let's click on Publish to save our work. And now our page is ready for prime time. Next, how to make your website completely responsive so that it looks as beautiful on the desktop, on the tablet, and on the mobile. Now, making your website responsive is essential nowadays because of the importance of smartphones. Now, that phase of your website project is also beneficial because it will allow you to address mistakes you may have overlooked while building the desktop version and that need corrections. Because let's face it, as you will see in this video, it's almost impossible to have everything 100% perfect from your first draft. Next, basic principles of responsive editing. So first, let's define responsive web design or responsive editing. Responsive editing means that you need to modify your website design separately for desktop, tablet, and mobile to make it look equally good on all of these screens. Now, the way you're going to implement responsive editing is going to differ based on the project, but we could say there are two main philosophies. The first one is to complete the desktop version first and then make the website responsive for tablets and mobile devices, which is what we're going to do in this video. But we're only using this route for this project because it makes it easier to teach the concepts. But in a real-life scenario, more than likely we would be using the second option or second philosophy, which is simply to make your website responsive as you go page by page. And there are many advantages. Just imagine you're working on your homepage and you got all your responsive settings dialed up. Then it's super easy to just copy and paste to the next page as you go, and this is such a time saver over the course of a project. Now, whatever route you choose, there are a few things you should always keep in mind. 1. Don't just create for the device that you prefer. Maybe you prefer viewing websites on desktop, but maybe 80% of your audience prefers viewing websites on a smartphone, or vice versa. Next, don't try to get everything looking the same on all devices. This is virtually impossible. Maybe it was possible in 1999, but today we have so many resolutions and devices, it's virtually impossible. And that brings me to the next point. Focus on the experience. So because the experience may differ whether you're on a desktop, a tablet, or a mobile, you may have to change layouts completely just to adapt to that specific device. People don't really screen a page the same way they do on a desktop or on a mobile, for example. Next, responsive header and footer. So in WordPress, you want to go to Astra, Customize. So first of all, we want to toggle the tablet mode by clicking on the corresponding icon. Next, hover over the navigation toggle icon and click on the pencil icon. And first of all, let's change the icon. We have 3 options here. Let's pick the first one, which in my opinion looks more stylish. Now, let's go back one step, then click on Customize Transparent Header, click on the Design tab, and scroll down until you see Toggle Color. Now the icon color should already be set to white, and for the background color, we're going to pick Theme Color number 5. So let's close this. Great! And now let's repeat the operation for our standard header. So for that, you want to click on the toggle menu and let's go to the testimonials page. And that's simply because this page uses the standard header, so it will be easier to see what we are working on. So let's scroll back up, let's go back one step and click on toggle button. Next, click on design, and where you see background color, we want to change it to theme color number 5. Now let's close this and let's reopen our home page. So click on the toggle menu and click on home. Next, let's go back in desktop mode, hover over the logo and click on the pencil icon. And here it says that the logo width is 160 pixels. So next, click on the responsive icon to toggle tablet mode. And let's change it from 60 to 100 pixels. Next, click on the responsive icon one more time to toggle mobile mode. And once again, let's change it from 50 to 100 pixels. Then let's click on publish to save our work. Now this was for the transparent header, but if we open a page with a standard header, as you can see, and don't mind the lower part because we'll take care of this later in this video, as you can see here on top, we also need to address the logo for the standard header. So let's go back to desktop mode and let's go back to the root of the navigation. Then click on header builder, which you already had by the way, but I just want to show you how to access it. And then click on site title and logo. Now once again, let's toggle the responsive icon to go into tablet mode and let's change the value to 100 pixels. Okay, great. Now once again, click on the responsive icon to toggle mobile mode. And once again, we want to change the value from 50 to 100 pixels. Okay, next, let's click back on the desktop icon and let's scroll down to our footer. So on the desktop, it looks fine, but now let's go into tablet mode. Let's scroll down. Still looks good, maybe a bit big. But now if we move to the mobile version, as you can see, it doesn't work. The logo is way too big and there isn't enough spaces on the edges. So let's go back into tablet mode, hover over the footer and you see the pencil icon here in the top left corner. So click on it, then go to design and where you see padding for the right, we're going to change it from 20 to 40 and the same for the left, 40 pixels. Now let's toggle the mobile mode. And let's scroll down here in our view and let's change the padding right from 0 to 20 pixels and the same for the left padding from 0 to 20 pixels. All right, let's go back into tablet mode. Now hover over the logo, click on the pencil icon and here in the left view, you can click on the logo one more time and then you're going to start dragging the handle. And as you drag it, you see the number is changing. What you want is aim for 160 pixels for the width, and there you go. Now on the screen capture, it may not be super visible, so just let me show you one more time from here. As you can see the numbers here. So you want the first number to say 160 pixels, more or less. And now as we move back to the mobile version and scroll down, as you can see, it's way better. Next, let's click on publish to save our work. Next, basic workflow. So earlier on in this course, we saw the responsive controls of the Elementor interface. So here on top, we can toggle to tablet and to mobile. And at any time, we can go into preview mode. So either by clicking on the little arrow here or by using a shortcut. So if I go back into tablet mode, for example, it's great, but it's not always 100% accurate. It's pretty good, but not 100% accurate. Now, one thing you can do to fix that is to open your website in the Chrome or Brave browser, then right-click anywhere on the page and click on Inspect. Next, you will see an icon here in the top that looks like a responsive icon. You see a desktop and what looks like a mobile. So just click on it and here is how it looks. Now, once again, don't pay attention to the page yet because this is what we're going to fix in this video. Now here on top you have a drop down. You can change it to other devices, for example the iPhone 14 Pro Max, or for example I could open the Samsung Galaxy A51 71, well, you get the idea. Now it's not just for phones. If you look in the drop down, I can select the iPad Air or iPad Mini, you name it. And you can even open the drop down and click on edit and you can add more devices. Now, I'm not ruling out the Elementor responsive preview, but the advantage of this tool in complement to Elementor's tool is that it gives you an accurate representation. Now, with that in mind, let's go back to Elementor and let's take a look at the basic workflow when trying to make websites responsive. So the first principle is that elements can vary depending on which device you are. So here we are on the desktop, for example. So let me select my hero section. Then let's go into tablet mode, style. Let me click on the image and let me select a completely different image. So as you can see, we've changed the image. Now take a look at this. Let me click on the desktop and as you can see, it's a different image. Now let's go back on the tablet and this is the image we've just changed. And if I click on mobile, by default, it's going to use the settings from the device above. So in this case, the tablet. Just like the tablet, you used to take the image from the desktop, but we've changed that now. So as you can see, that's super powerful because you can have a very tailored experience depending on the device you're on. Now, let me go back into mobile mode and let me show you another feature. So still with my container selected, still in style. As you can see here, I have the image resolution. So I can decide I want to show the full resolution or I can display a medium large, for example. And in that case, it's going to serve an image that is not as large as the full resolution. So if you want to optimize for mobile, and we'll see that later in the course, this is one of the things you want to do. Next, you can also change the position. So you could say, hey, for the mobile, I want it to be center left, for example. Whereas if I go back on the tablet, it's still center by default to center. So you get the idea. You can basically tailor the experience to which device your users are going to view your website on. And of course, that's not only valid for images. For example, let me scroll and let me change the text. So here in the desktop mode, let's click on our text, style. You can see the size is 40 pixels. Now let's click on the responsive icon. Let's go into tablet mode and let's make it 20 just to make it dramatic so you see the difference. And once again, let's go into mobile mode and this time let's make it 12. So you get the point. Let me open the preview and let me cycle through desktop, tablet, and mobile. So of course here it doesn't look good. I would not advise to make it as small in a real life scenario on the smartphone, but you get the idea. Now let me close the overview. Let's go back into desktop mode. And another thing we have to talk about is the padding and margin. So let me scroll down and let me duplicate this container. Next, I'm going to go to style and just change the color so that we can differentiate. All right. Next, let me go to advanced and here you can see we have margin and padding. Now I could give you a complex definition, but let's just say that the margin in this case is going to be the space between the edge of your container and the outside world, whereas the padding is going to be the space between the edge of your container and the inside world, namely the content. So let me show you what I mean. So for example, here, I'm just going to unlink the values for the margin and I'm going to type 100 pixels for the top. So as you can see, the margin is the space between the edge of your content and the outside world. Now let's do the same thing, but for the padding. So here, instead of 50, let me type 100. So now it should be easier to visualize what margins and padding do. So in our example, the top 100 pixels margin is right here, whereas the top 100 pixels padding is right here. Now the thing you have to remember is that margins and padding are not only in containers. So let me open the structure panel. So we can see here we have our testimonial container. I can open it and you see we have subcontainers. So here's one of these subcontainers. Here's the second one. Let me click on it. And once again, I can go to advanced and I can give it a margin of 40 pixels, for example. Next, I can change the padding and give it a padding of 60 pixels. You get the idea. And the reason why this is important is because all roads lead to Rome. What I mean by that is that to achieve a specific layout, you could change the margin or the padding within the main container or within the subcontainer or even within a widget. So for example, here I can click on this widget. We see it's a heading widget. I can go to advanced and once again, I can change the padding here. I can make it 30 pixels. So there are many ways to achieve a specific layout. You're just gonna have to play with it. Next, making the homepage responsive. So in WordPress, hover over the name of your website and click on Visit Site. Next, since we are already on the homepage, click on Edit with Elementor. Now let's go in tablet mode by clicking on the icon. And next, let's select our hero container. Now to make it easier, let's open the structure panel just to know where we're at and what we're doing. So with our hero container selected, go to Advanced. And for the padding, you want it to be 70 pixels top, 40 on the right, 10 at the bottom, and 40 pixels on the left-hand side. Now let's go into mobile mode. And this time is going to be 64, 20, 10, and 20 pixels on the left. Now let's go back into desktop mode. And as you can see here, the button is in the middle, but it would look nicer if it was on the right hand side. So let me temporarily close the structure panel. Let's select our button. And where you see alignment, you want to change it to right. Now let's check in tablet mode and mobile mode. Now, as explained previously, by default, a device is going to take the settings from the device above it, unless you change it specifically for this device. So in this case, the button settings is taken from the tablet, which is taken from the desktop. All right, let's open the structure panel again. Let's close this and let's scroll down. Now let's go back into tablet mode. So this is looking fine. Now, as we saw earlier, the padding and margin can be set at various levels. In this case, it's set at the widget level. So if I click on it, go to advanced, you can see there is some padding here. All right, let's keep on scrolling down. And here everything looks fine. But if we go into mobile mode, you can see that the image is grayed out. And as explained earlier, we can actually have different layouts depending on which device we're viewing the website. So in this case, it's grayed out. But what if we want to enable it for the mobile view? First of all, let me go back into desktop mode. Now let me scroll down. And I'm just going to rename the container so that it's easier to work with it. So let me expand this and I'm going to call it left and right. Very original. Now let's go back into mobile mode. And with the right container selected, I'm going to advanced, scroll down, responsive. And as you can see, it was set to hide on mobile portrait. So all I have to do is just toggle this and it's back on. And now if I open the preview, as you can see, it's now visible. So let me go back. And for this tutorial, I'm just going to leave it as it was. So I'm going to toggle it back off and let's publish to save our work. Now let's go back into tablet mode and let's scroll down. And as you can see, the text is way too close to the edges. So let's select our container, go to advanced, and we're going to change the right padding to 40 pixels and the same for the left padding. So it's 40 pixels all around now. Now let's click on the mobile icon to toggle mobile responsive mode. Once again, let's scroll down. And this time we're going to change the right padding to 20 and the left padding to 20 pixels as well. So that looks better. We have an issue with the image. So let me go back to the style tab. And as you can see here, this image is not the image we have for the tablet version or for the desktop version. So more than likely it was a different image. So let me go back into mobile mode and I'm just going to delete this image. And now as a default, it's going to take the setting from the device above it, the tablet. So all looking good now. So let's publish to save our work. Now let's go into tablet mode. And now let's take a look at our page in tablet mode. And as you can see, it's looking great. Good spacing, good images, good everything. Now let's check the mobile version. And just like the desktop and tablet versions, it's now looking great. Next, making the About page responsive. So once again in WordPress, click on Visit Site. Then go to the About page and click on Edit with Elementor. Next, select the page header container, toggle the tablet responsive mode, and where you see minimum height, you want to change the unit from pixels to VH, and you want to give it a value of 65 VH. Next, click on the responsive icon to toggle mobile mode, and this time you want to give it a value of 55 VH. Great. So let's click on Publish to save our work, and let's go back into tablet mode. Now let's scroll down. Everything is looking good. And as you can see, we have the same issue we had on the home page because it's the same container, the call to action banner. So let's keep this tab open and let's open a new one. So let's visit our site, and here on the home page, let's click on Edit with Elementor. I'm just going to scroll down, right click on my call to action banner and click on copy. Now let me go back to our about page, and I'm going to hover over the call to action banner here, click on the plus sign, then right click and paste. And now I have my banner with the correct settings. So I'm just going to delete this one and we're set. Now let's scroll back up and let's toggle the mobile mode. Now for some reason it goes back at the bottom, so let's scroll back up one more time just to check visually that everything is looking good on the mobile, and it is. So let's click on publish to save our work, and now let's preview our work. First of all in tablet mode, and as expected our page is looking great, and the same goes for the mobile mode, looking as beautiful as the desktop and tablet versions. Now don't close the About Us page tab yet because we will need it to copy and paste between this page and the services page. Next, making the services page responsive. So open your dashboard in a new browser tab, then you know the drill now. Click on Visit Site, then open the services page and click on Edit with Elementor. Now let's go into tablet mode, and as you can see, the height of this container is not quite what we want. So let's go back to the browser tab with the About Us page. Now let's select our page container, right click, hit copy. Now let's go back to our services page, right click on the page header, and this time let's click on paste style. Now it's great for the settings, but unfortunately it also changed the image. So let's go back into desktop mode, and still with a page header selected, go to style, click on the image, and let's reselect this image here. Then click on select, and there you go. So now if you go into tablet mode and mobile mode, it's the right image. Now let's take a look at our page. It's looking good, but maybe we could change some of the spacing. So let's scroll back up and let's go into desktop mode, then go to advanced, select the web design container, and let's give it a margin of 0 all around. For the padding, unlink the values and let's give it 60, 0, 40, and 0 pixels. Now let's go into tablet mode. Once again, let's give it 0 margin all around. Then unlink the padding values and give it 40, 0, 40, 0 in pixels, of course. Then go to the mobile mode. Once again, margin of 0 all around. Unlink the padding values and let's give it 20, 0, 30, 0. Now let's go back into desktop mode, and this time let's select the graphic design container. Let's give it a margin of 0 all around. Unlink the padding values and let's give it 0, 0, 60, 0. And let me scroll down so you can actually see the padding here. Now click on the responsive icon for the tablet. Once again, 0 all around. Unlink the padding values and give it 0, 0, 40, 0. Then click on the mobile responsive icon. You know the drill now. 0 all around for the margin. Unlink the padding values and give it 0, 0, 30, 0. Now let's scroll down so we have the right view. So here is the 30 pixels bottom padding. Next, let's go back to desktop mode. Let's select our branding container. Margin should be set to 0 all around. Unlink the padding values and let's give it 0, 0, 60, 0. Then go into tablet mode, 0 margin, unlink the padding values, and this time give it 0, 0, 60, 0. Let's scroll down. Now go into mobile mode, 0 margin, unlink the padding values, and give it 0, 0, 40, 0. All right, let's click on publish to save our work. Now let's go back into tablet mode. Now let's scroll down, and as you can see, we have the Why Work with Digital Force container, which we've called the credibility container. And as you can see, this portion here is grayed out, which means it's hidden, but we're going to fix that. So let's go back in desktop mode. Now let me scroll down, and here let me expand the credibility container. So I'm just going to rename this to intro and this one to icons. So let me switch here. Now, if I expand icons, we have two subcontainers. Let's call it row 1 and row 2. Now, let me select the icons container, which contains all icons. Let's go into tablet mode. So let me put my structure panel back where it was. And then in the advanced tab, scroll down to responsive. And as you can see, it doesn't look like it's hidden. But if you remember, I told you all roads lead to Rome. So we need to do a little bit of digging. So let's click on row 1, advanced. Let's scroll down, responsive, and there it is. So let's click on the toggles. And now row 1 is visible both on the tablet and on the mobile. Right, let's go back into tablet mode. Let's select row 2 and let's repeat the operation, advanced, then go to responsive and let's click on the toggle. So all these toggles should be set to show. All right, let's go into mobile mode. Let's double check and yes, everything is looking good here, except the spacing, but we can fix that easily. So let's go back in tablet mode. Let's select our icons container, then go to advanced. And for the padding, you want to give it 0 all around. Then go into mobile mode and make sure it's also 0 all around. So looking great. Let's go back in tablet mode. Click on row 1, advanced. And where you see margin, you want to unlink the values and make sure it's 0 all around. Then go into mobile mode and double check it's also 0 all around. And let's repeat the operation for row 2. Let's go back into tablet mode. Unlink the value so that it's 0 all around. Now unlink the padding values and give it 20 pixels, 0, 0, 0. And just double check it's the same for the mobile. All right. Now let's click on publish to save our work. And now if we preview our page in tablet mode, it's looking great with great spacing. And the same is true for our mobile version, looking as good as the desktop and tablet versions. Next, making the testimonials page responsive. So in WordPress, you know the drill. Visit sites, then go to testimonials, edit with Elementor. And here is the page we previously built from scratch. It's looking great on the desktop, but as we go into the tablet mode, still okay. But if you go into the mobile mode, it's not really okay. And as you notice, the layout is different. Now this is one of those cases where I told you, you cannot always get the exact same layout depending on which device you are. This is a thing of the past. And if you tried, this is what you would get. It would make no sense. You would have the left column, it would be unreadable, then you would have those two containers, and it's just not possible. So instead, we're going to have a different layout for the desktop version and different layouts for both the tablet and the mobile version combined. So let's go into tablet mode. Now let's open our structure panel. And with our testimonials container selected, go to advanced and give it a padding of 40 pixels all around. Now let's go into mobile mode. And this time let's unlink the padding values and let's give it 30, 10, 20, and 10 pixels. Now let's go back into tablet mode and let's select the first subcontainer. You can either click here, but as you can see, it's easier to navigate in the structure panel. So we're selecting the left subcontainer. Then go to advanced, unlink the padding values, and let's give it 80, 20, 80, and 20 pixels. Now this is valid for the tablet and for the mobile version. Now let's go back into tablet mode and we want to select this subcontainer here. And you can see it's a subcontainer to the right container. So with the right top subcontainer selected, go to advanced, unlink the padding values, and give it 40, 20, 40, and 20 pixels. Now let's repeat the operation for the right bottom, advanced, unlink the values, and 40, 20, 40, and 20 pixels. Now, and this is where the magic is going to happen, we're going to change this layout. So let's select our testimonials container, then go to layout, and where you see direction, you want to change it to column vertical. Next, you want to select the left subcontainer. Where you see width, you want to change the unit to percentage, and you want to make it 100%. Next, select the right subcontainer, then change the width unit to percentage, and once again, give it 100%. Awesome. Let's click on publish to save our work. And now if we take a look at our page, as you can see as we scroll down, we have a completely different layout than from the desktop version, but it is now really tailored for the tablet devices. And if we go into mobile mode, the same thing happens. Instead of something like this, we see something like this. Next, making our contact page responsive. So let's preview our website, then go to the contact page, click on Edit with Elementor. Next, let's go into tablet mode. And as we scroll, it's looking good. But I noticed a mistake, and I told you this is also the time to spot those mistakes that you overlooked. And one of the mistakes is the color of the icons. So let's fix this. So first of all, let's click on the desktop icon. Now let's scroll down. Let's hover over the icons and click on the pencil icon. Then go to Style. And we can see here that the technique used is transparency. So there's transparency over one color for the standard state. And then for the hover state, here's the full color. So let me click back on the icon subtab, then click on primary color, and I'm going to pick theme color number 5, then click on the color itself, and then I'm just going to drag the opacity slider in the middle. Next, let me click on the icon hover subtab, click on global theme colors, and make sure theme color number 5 is selected. And now when you hover over the icon, this is the main theme color we wanted to use. So not directly related to responsive web design, but as I mentioned, it's the perfect time now to look at all those little mistakes and make corrections. So let's click on Publish to save our work. And we didn't change much here, but the page was already looking good in tablet version. Now there is one more thing we want to change here, and it's the page header. Just like before, the height is not quite what we want on the other pages of the website. So we're going to keep this tab open and just open a new tab. And one more time, let's open our websites. Let's click on Services page, Edit with Elementor. And you know the drill now, we're just going to copy the page header, click on Copy. Then let's go back to our contact page, then right click on our page header and click on Paste Style. Next, let me go back into desktop mode, and with my page header container selected, click on Style, choose Image, and let's reselect the correct image. Next, click on Select. And now if you go into tablet mode and mobile mode, it's looking good. Awesome. So let's click on Publish to save our work. And now if we take a look at the tablet version, it's looking beautiful, just like the desktop version. And the same is true for our mobile version, looking as good as the desktop and tablet versions. Congratulations! You are now equipped with the knowledge to create a fully responsive, modern-looking website. Next, how to optimize your WordPress website to make it faster so you can go from this to this. And you can even attain an almost perfect score if you use the cherry on the cake that I will talk about later on in this video. Now, according to Google, the probability of bounce increases 32% as page load time goes from 1 second to 3 seconds. And if you're wondering what the bounce rate is, well, the bounce rate is defined as a percentage of visitors that leave a web page without taking an action, such as clicking on the link, filling out a form, or making a purchase. Now, if you've spent time or money or both building an amazing website, you probably want that website to perform. And as you can see, every second counts when it comes to the performance of your website. A common complaint with theme builders like Elementor is that they slow down your website. But that is mainly because the users don't optimize it well. And it is fixable. Now, what is even easier is to use a speed-oriented website builder such as Spectra. But since you're watching an Elementor course, today I will share with you optimization tips and tools to make your Elementor website load faster. Now, before we dive in, let's dig deeper and let's take a look at why a WordPress website could be slow in the first place. Now, there are many reasons, but we want to keep things simple here, and we want to give you actionable tips that you can actually start implementing today. And in my opinion, it comes down to just a few things. So the first thing to look at is the quality of the web hosting company, of course. And for that, Google is your friend. Now, the next thing to take into consideration about a web hosting company is where are these servers located? Now, earlier in this course, we already talked about the servers and how it works when it comes to web hosting. But basically, the server is a supercomputer that's going to serve your website to the rest of the world. So for example, if your website is hosted on one side of the earth and someone tries to access it from the other side of the earth, then it's going to take more time for the website to display to that specific user. Now there are solutions and we'll talk about it later in this video. Now the next element that can make your WordPress website slower is the theme you're going to use for your website. Because once again, not themes are created equal. Now we've all been there, we go on marketplaces and we see those nice shiny themes, and some of those themes are really great, but is it at the expense of speed? And a lot of time it is. Now, personally, I remember when doing client work, some clients would come and say, hey, I have a slow website, can you fix this? And the first thing I looked at is, what is the theme? And sometimes those themes, they are poorly coded. And that's the first issue. Now, forget about the bells and whistles. And what you should be looking for is a WordPress theme that is lightweight and minimizes the HTTP requests. And you're in luck because first of all, you're on the Brainstorm Force channel, which happens to be the creator of the most popular theme of all time, the Astra WordPress theme, with more than 2 million active installs and names like NASA, Google, and Stanford University using it. Well, it is because Astra is a super fast WordPress theme. Now, if you've been following the rest of the course and if you're also building the website project, then you've been using Astra. Now, the next element that can slow your WordPress website down is plugin, or shall I say plugins. Because first of all is the number of plugins. You should try to keep it to a minimum, but it's not always feasible. Some very complex websites have a lot of plugins. But once again, the rule of thumb is trying to get as little plugins as possible. But now the next thing, even if you have very few plugins or whether you have a lot of plugins, the next thing is the quality of the plugins. Once again, just like for the themes, if the plugins are poorly coded, then you're going to get poor performance. So always try to get plugins from established developers, established companies that have a proven track record. Now, that doesn't mean that you should rule out newcomers, but you should carefully monitor the health of your website once you install a new plugin. So we've talked about web hosting, about WordPress themes and plugins, but now let's talk about images because that's probably the first source of slow websites. And to illustrate that, let me tell you a little story. So one day someone calls me and tells me, hey, I got your number from such and such, and I heard you are a web designer, and I have this huge issue with my website. It is super slow. So he proceeds on telling me he was not happy with what the web designer did and asked me if I could fix it, basically. So before I could give that person a quote, I said, hey, can I take a look at the website first? So they sent me the URL. So I went to look, and the first thing I look is the weight of the images, just with the inspector tools. And I found out that the main image, the first image that you see on the page, was like 20 or 25 megabytes. Megabytes. Yeah. So actually, the web designer, the previous one, made a good job with the website, but it was just that image that the client himself changed without knowing better. So you cannot really blame the client if he didn't know how to deal with images. But we're going to talk about this later in this video. So I can show you how to optimize images from 20 plus megabytes to 200, 100, you choose. So now let's take a look at how we can optimize our WordPress website. So for this video, we will start with a website that we will call Site A. Then we will clone it, make all the changes in the clone, and this one will be called Site B. So then we can measure Site A versus Site B. And now we can go to Pingdom Tools and test Site A. Now all these testing sites, I would advise take it with a grain of salt, but use it more as a measurement unit. So first of all, I'm going to paste the URL. And next for the server, I'm going to test from Europe, Germany, Frankfurt. Then click on Start Test. Okay, so performance grade is C71, the page size is 5.5, and the load time is already pretty good, 1.20 seconds. So quite fast. And we have 41 requests. But the performance grade is C71. Now, if you want to know about performance grades in Pingdom Tools, you can just scroll down and just read the documentation. Next, let's go into the WordPress admin. We've cloned Site A, and this is now Site B, as I mentioned. And now we're going to go to Settings, Reading. And here where you see for each post in the feed include, you want to make sure it's set to excerpt and then click on Save Changes. Next, if you're using the Astra theme, you want to hover over Astra and click on Dashboard. then go to Settings and Performance. And here we're going to toggle the option to optimize inline CSS and to load Google Fonts locally. Next, select Preload Fonts. And just to be on the safe side, we're going to flush the local font files. Next, go to Elementor, Settings, Advanced, and make sure the CSS print method is set to external file, then click on Save Changes. Next, click on the Features tab. Now scroll down and you may want to activate the lazy load background images. Basically what this does is that when images are not in the viewport, which means users cannot see the images, they are not loaded. They only get loaded once they get in the viewport. So for that, you would set it to active and then click on Save Changes. Now I'm not going to do it here because I'm going to use another tool later that actually does it. If I'm correct, WordPress also does it natively now. Next, make sure that improved asset loading, improved CSS loading, as well as optimized Gutenberg loading and optimized image loading are set to active. And you see it with the green dot here next to the feature. And once you get everything set, just click on Save Changes. All right, we're getting there. Next, let's optimize our website images. Now let's take a look at this image here. As you can see here in the Finder, the size of this image is 12 megabytes or 12,000 kilobytes, which is way too much. I would advise 200, 300 tops. In some cases, with pictures where your foliage is very hard to compress, so it could be a bit more. But the lesser it is, the better. As long as you keep quality, of course. So I'm going to show you how to address this. Now, the first way you could optimize this image is just go to a website called squoosh.app. It's a free website. I'm just going to drag this image and drop it here. And then you can see a pop-up here. I'm just going to select WebP. So don't select WebP v2 because it's unstable. So I'm going to select WebP. And then I'm going to change the quality. So let me set it at 80%. Now let me maximize this. As you can see here, you can see the difference in quality. Now it's a bit too big. I'm going to zoom out. And here you can see the difference in quality. So here at 80%, it's a reduction of 98%. So it's 253 kilobytes. I'm just going to save this and save. And now if we open the Finder, we can see the original here, 12 megabytes. And the new one here, 253 kilobytes. So here is the original and here is the optimized version. Can you tell the difference? Because even from here, I can't. So I doubt you will see it with the compression on YouTube. Now let's open the calculator and let's divide 12,000 by 253. So we've divided the weight of this image by 47 times. Would you believe me if I told you I can do even better? So let me close this. And for this, my tool of choice would be Affinity Photo 2 or Photoshop. But let me show you a free alternative. And it's a website called Photopea, and it's completely free. You just get those ads here on the side if you stay on the free version. But with the magic of editing, I can actually get rid of this. All right, next, you want to go to File, click on Open. And here I'm going to select my original file, the one that is 12 megabytes, and click on Open. All right. Next, you want to go to Image, Image Size. And you can see here that the resolution is super high. This is the type of resolution you get from stock images, or even if you took an image with a recent camera. So let's change this to 2560. Why 2560? Well, just because it's above the 1920 that we used to use as a resolution. So it's better for Retina screen, but at the same time, it's not so big that the file is going to be so big also. So if I click on the height field, it automatically changes the size to keep the ratio. So click on OK. Great. Next, you want to go to File, Export As, and we're going to select WebP. So just like in the squoosh.app website we saw previously, we're going to choose WebP. So here I can just drag around. Here is my image. And here I have a quality slider, just like in the previous tool. So here, if I leave it on 80%, the image is still looking quite good. So here, and let me show you, if I go to 0%, you see how the quality is degraded. So let me put it back at 80%, and you can play with this depending on the size, the file size you're trying to achieve. And I can see here that the file size is estimated at 71 kilobytes. So this looks good to me. Let me click on save, and let's add a little C and click on save here. Now let's go back. Here is my original image. This is the one I optimized with Squoosh.app, and this is the one we just optimized. Actually, let me just remove the one we created with Squoosh.app so that we only have the original one and the one that we just optimized with Photopea. Now, once again, I don't know about you, but I cannot tell a difference from here. And bear in mind, I'm looking at a Retina screen, so I should see if there was any difference. So once again, let's open our calculator and let's divide 12,000 by 71. And ladies and gentlemen, we just divided the size of the original image by 169. Yes, you heard it right. So we went from 12,000 kilobytes to 71 kilobytes with no visible loss of quality. Now just repeat this process for all images on your website and you can just imagine the impact. Now we're not done yet. So we are on site B. Let's click on edit with Elementor. And next, let's select our first container here, our hero container, then go to style. And here just below the image, you can see we have image resolution. So right now it's using the full resolution for the desktop, which is more than likely what you want, especially if you optimize the image, because otherwise the quality might seriously get degraded, especially if people are going to watch this website on large monitors or Retina monitors. You want the best quality. And we've already optimized the image. But now if we go into tablet mode, well, now maybe we don't need a full resolution. So here we can change the resolution just for the tablet mode. And for example, we can make it large like this. And you really have to do this on a case-by-case basis. Yes, it takes a little bit of time, but that's how you optimize your website. So if you think the quality is not good enough, you can always take it a step higher. For example, you can take this size, 536 by 536. And once you're happy with it, you can move on to the mobile. And now for the mobile, let's try medium large. And that still looks great to me. And that means that the already optimized image is again getting optimized by Elementor. And by doing that, not only are you doing a service to the website viewers, but also to yourself, because your website is going to be more performant. Now, if you want to take this even further, you could actually open the image in your tool of choice, copy the image, then create a new file with a mobile format. Just paste the image, and then you can just optimize the image and really make the image you want for that specific device. And then when you're going to save it and use the techniques that I showed you previously, you might end up with a 20 kilobyte file or 30 kilobyte file, and that's going to be even more optimized for the different devices you're working on. But that means more work, and I told you we're going to keep things simple, but I just wanted to show you the scope of things you can do if you really want to optimize your images. Next, using a caching plugin. Now, I know that I've told you should minimize the number of plugins on your website, but when it comes to a caching plugin, you should not skip it because this is really a game changer when it comes to making your website more performant. But first of all, what is caching? So caching is storing copies of files in a cache so that cache content can be accessed quickly. So in other words, when you try to view a website through a browser, what happens is there is constant back and forth between your browser and the server. And your browser is asking, oh, can you load this code? Then he comes back, loads it, oh, can you load this code? And that's the way it goes back and forth. And if the server is far from where the user is viewing the website, then it takes even more time. And caching solves that by creating copies of files locally, thus reducing HTTP requests and thus making your website look faster. Now, if you go to the WordPress.org website and go to the plugin section, if you type cache, you will see there are plenty of results. Some of the big ones are the ones you see here on screen. But personally, when it comes to caching, my favorite plugin is called WP Rocket. And I've been using this plugin for years, long before I made YouTube videos. Now, WP Rocket is not free. It's a premium, in other words, paid plugin. Now, most of these plugins work in a similar way, so the interface might be different, but some of the options are the same. The real difference is how performant they are. So let me show you how it works with WP Rocket. So back in the WordPress admin, I am still on the site B. So let me go to plugins, add new plugin. Next, I click on upload plugin and I'm going to click on choose file. Next, let me select the WP Rocket zip file and click on open. Then click on install now and then click on activate plugin. So here is the plugins page. And by the way, this is a good time to show you to delete plugins you're not using. So let me select this one and this one, select delete and click on apply. Okay. Next, just under the name WP Rocket, I click on settings and let me show you the way that I personally set it. So first of all, let's go to cache. Make sure enable caching for mobile device is selected and then click on save changes. Next, the file optimization tab. And here's where the magic happens. Now, a word of caution here. This may break things on your website, but no panic. But the way you should do it is maybe try it one by one or select all the options and then just go and check if everything is working. And if it doesn't, you can deselect options one by one. And every time you make a change, don't forget to hover over WP Rocket here and click on clear and preload cache. So that is just gonna flush the cache, for lack of a better image. Now let's try. So it gives you a warning that this could break things. So we're going to activate it. It's going to give us warnings for all these options. So I'm just going to activate it all. Load JavaScript deferred and delay JavaScript. Then click on save changes. Now let me close this. And I went pretty fast with this, but basically here is going to minify CSS file. It's going to remove spaces and it's just going to make everything more compact. So the file size of the CSS file is going to be smaller. Next, optimize CSS delivery. Once again, we just want to deliver the CSS when people need it. Same thing for minified JavaScript files, for load JavaScript deferred, and for delay JavaScript execution. All right, let's go back up. Then click on media. And here I'm going to enable lazy load. If you recall, we also have this option in Elementor, but I knew I was going to use WP Rocket, hence why I'm just using it here and not in Elementor. But if you're not using this plugin or another caching plugin that has this feature, then you may want to enable it in the Elementor settings. So here I'm going to enable it. I'm going to enable it for CSS background images, for iframe in videos, and very important, I'm going to add missing image dimensions. These can really improve the speed of your website because sometimes you only have like the big images and you don't have the smaller ones when it's shown in a smaller scale. But once again, Elementor takes care of this, but I like to deal with it here in WP Rocket. So I'm going to click on save changes. Next, preload. So you want to make sure activate preloading is set to on and enable link preloading, which improves the perceived load time by downloading a page when your user hovers over the link, according to the WP Rocket documentation. Next, if you scroll down, we can see you can also preload font. Once you're happy with it, just click on save changes. Now, in case you're wondering, with preloading, WP Rocket will automatically detect your sitemaps and save all URLs to the database. So the plugin will make sure that your cache is always preloaded. All right. Next, we have advanced rules, but I said we were going to keep this simple, so I'm not going to use it here. And actually, I don't really use it that much. Next, we have the database, and here you can really unbloat your database. So if you have, I don't know, 4 million revisions, you may want to flush all of this. But here's a pretty new database, so no need here. CDN, we'll talk about it in a moment. Then we have Heartbeat. And in case you're wondering, the WordPress Heartbeat API is a great feature that provides real-time communication between the server and the browser when you are logged into your WordPress admin panel. So in other words, for this website, we don't really want or need to optimize this. Next, we have add-ons. We're not gonna talk about this now. Image optimization. This is another plugin from WP Rocket, but I already show you how to optimize your images. And honestly, yes, you can add some great plugins and they're going to reduce the file size of your images. But personally, I prefer to do it manually. Yes, it takes more time, but I really control the visual quality of the images and the file size. Whereas these tools, they can be great, but they can also put a lot of stress on your web hosting server or shared server, more than likely, and you don't really control the visual quality. I mean, if you do it in bulk, it's a bit complicated. So personally, I'd rather do it manually and make sure everything is the way I want it to be. All right, next we have tools, so you can export your settings, import your settings, and this is very handy if you have multiple websites and almost always using the same type of settings. And if you import the settings into a new website, some things may be different. So once again, always test. And that's what we're going to do right now. So I loaded the website in a new browser window. And I know that if I click on this button, it should take me to the next section. So let's test that feature, and it's working great. Same for this button here. Let me click on it. Still working great. So my images and the buttons seem to be working, so that's fine. Now I've just opened yet another new browser window, and this is site A. So the website without the optimization. And let me go from page to page. So this is an older version of our demo website. So if I click on the various pages, you can see how it is. And now let's go back to site B, so the website with optimization, and let's do the same test. And you can see how faster it gets with the caching plugin. One more time, site A, and contact, and back to home, and site B, optimize, about, services, contact, and back to home. And now once again, let me open Pingdom Tools, and now let's test it with site B. And don't forget that I replaced all the images with the images we optimized, changed all the settings, and added the cache plugin. So let me paste the URL, then click on Start Tests, and I'm going to speed this up. And there you go. Performance grade A97. The page size is 210 kilobytes. Load time is less than half a second, and we have 15 requests. So let's compare it to site A, performance grade C71, page size 5.5 megabytes, load time 120, which is super good, but I suspect it's because it's not loading the image because of the lazy load. So it seems to be loading super fast, but if the image was actually loading, it would be way above 3 seconds, in my opinion. And here we have 41 requests, because don't forget, site A is with unoptimized images. And now let's go back to site B. Beautiful. Now, at the beginning of this video, I told you that you could even go a step further and attain an almost perfect score, like 99, why not 100? And I mentioned this would be the cherry on the cake. And that cherry on the cake is called a CDN. Now, what is a CDN, or Content Delivery Network? Where a content delivery network is a distributed group of servers that caches content near end users. So in the example we gave previously, if the initial server is at one end of the planet and the viewer is at the other end of the planet, it's going to take some time, even if it's just mere seconds. But nowadays, mere seconds is too much. So CDN solved that by serving a closer copy of the website. So if one user is in a specific location, then he will get served a copy of the website cached in the closest server to his location. Now, there are many CDN options out there, and one of the most popular ones is the free Cloudflare CDN. But of course, free means it comes with a limit. But if you're looking for a premium solution with more options, then look no further than WP Rocket, because they've launched Rocket CDN, which conveniently you can access from your dashboard. So here in the WP dashboard, all you need to do is click on CDN and click on Get Started. And now, wherever your website viewers are on the globe, they will get served the closest version possible, which will further boost its performance. So now that you are equipped with the knowledge about how to make your WordPress website faster, you are almost ready to launch your website. Next, action points that you should clear before launching your website. So launching a website without a checklist is like trying to drive a Lamborghini but without a steering wheel. Or with the pizza. Yeah. So without wasting any time, let's start with our WordPress website launch checklist. First, SSL, which stands for Secure Sockets Layer. And basically, this is the way to tell the browser that your website is secured. For example, here in Chrome, you can see I just click on this icon and it says the connection is secure. And if I click on it, it gives more details and says that the certificate is valid. Now, previously in this course, I showed you how to get a web hosting plan and a domain name configured with SSL. Next, website title and tagline. So in WordPress, you want to go to Settings, General, and here in the first field, you can change your website title, but don't forget just below we have the tagline. By default, it says just another WordPress site, or here in this case, just another Astra starter template site. So let's replace this with our slogan, a digital agency even your mom loves. Yeah. Now it's important to change this because this could appear in search engines, so you don't want the generic tagline. Now, once you're done, scroll to the bottom of the page and click on Save Changes. Next, admin email. So still in Settings General, you can change here the administration email address. And if your email address is different from the one you see here, this is the time to change it because all important communication from your website will be sent to that email address. And as usual, once you're done, click on Save Changes. Next, time zone settings. So we're still in Settings General. And right here, we can find the time zone settings. So we can either leave it to UTC+0 or even better, we can change it to the time zone we're in. And that's important because let's say an event happened and you want to find out, oh, at what time did that happen? At least you won't have to calculate at what time it really did happen. So to change the time zone, just click on the drop down, select the appropriate time zone. And as usual, once you've made your changes, just scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on Save Changes. Next, permalinks. So in WordPress, you want to go to Settings, Permalinks. And if you don't know what a permalink is, well, let's say that without permalinks, your website URLs would look something like this. So instead of about or services, you would just see a random number from the database. Now, as you can see here, there are many options, but the one most recommended is post name. So make sure it's set to post name, then scroll down and click on Save Changes. Next, make sure your website is visible to search engines. So in WordPress, you want to go to Settings, Reading, and right here you see the search engine visibility option. So make sure this is not selected. Now, usually when we start a project, we select this option so that we can build a website quietly without anyone knowing. So make sure you unselect this option and then click on Save Changes. Because if you don't do this, search engines like Google may not even know that your website exists. Next, make sure maintenance mode is off. So if you're using some kind of maintenance mode that only allows you to see your website while you're building it, this is the time to deactivate it. So for example, in Elementor, if you go to Elementor Tools, you have a tab that says Maintenance Mode. And right here, where it says Choose Mode, make sure it's set to Disabled and then click on Save Changes. And now your website is visible to the rest of the world. Next, making sure your 404 page works. And if you're wondering what a 404 page is, it's basically a page that indicates that the server could not find what was requested. Let me show you. So for example, here I'm on my website and let's say I want to access a page that does not exist. So I'm going to add / blah, blah, blah. And if I hit enter, as you can see, we get the default 404 page. This page doesn't seem to exist. And then we have a search field. And that should come by default when you install your WordPress theme. And in this case, we're using the Astra theme. And this page is important because a user might land on your website, you might be looking for a page that used to be there, the page is not there anymore, and you don't want them to leave the website. So giving them option like a search field is great to help the website viewers find what they're looking for, or at the very least funnel them to another part of your website. And if you want to take this to the next level, you may want to consider Astra Pro because it now comes with a site builder, so you can create custom 404 pages. So now on this website, I've installed Astra Pro, and with the site builder, I created a custom 404 page. So if I try to access this URL that you see on screen, which does not exist, and type enter, as you can see, I got a fully custom 404 page that's way more stylish and matches my brand. Next, optimize third-party add-ons. So let's take a look at Elementor, for example. Let's go to Elementor, Settings, then go to Features. And as you can see, there are many features here. Now, not all features are necessary, and they can add some bloat to your WordPress install. So as usual, the best thing to do is to read what the feature does and then test. Just select the option you want to change. So for example, let's say you want to deactivate the optimized Gutenberg loading. Just click on Save Changes and then go and check your website. And you can also use dedicated tools to measure the performance of your website, as we saw in the optimization tips video. So I've just shown you how to do this for Elementor, but the idea here is that you may want to do this for each and every plugin on your website, if they have these kind of options, of course. Next, install an anti-spam plugin. Nobody likes spam. And if for some reason you do, please let me know in the comments. But personally, I hate it with a passion. Now, luckily, there are easy solutions. So in WordPress, you want to go to Plugins, Add New Plugin, and then in the search field, type Anti-Spam B. And there you go. Click on Install Now and Activate. And voila, the spam fight is on. Now, if you want to go further, click on Settings, take a look at the self-explanatory options, make your changes, and once you're happy with it, click on Save Changes. Next, remove unneeded plugins. So, talking about plugins, as you may know, having too many plugins can really impact the performance of your website. So in WordPress, you want to go to Install Plugins. And now is the time to delete any plugin that you don't need, maybe plugins you installed during development, or just plugins that came with your install. So hit delete and approve the prompt. And voila, the undesired plugin was successfully deleted. Next, remove unneeded items. So usually when you start creating your website, you're going to create a few pages, posts, you're going to add images that later down the road, you're not going to need anymore. So for example, in WordPress, go to Pages, All Pages, select the pages that you don't need anymore, then click on the drop down. And if you really don't need it anymore, just move it to trash. Otherwise, you can keep it in draft for the time being. But here, let's say I want to get rid of it. Just click on Move to Trash and click on Apply. Next, Images. So in WordPress, you want to go to Media, Library. And here you can either open an image and then click on Delete Permanently. Or if you need to select several images, just click on Bulk Select and then select the images you want to delete and hit Delete Permanently. Yes, permanently. They will never, ever, ever be seen again. Next, make sure your logo is set correctly. So for this project, we've been using the Astra theme. So let's go to Astra, Customize. And as mentioned before, on this website, we have two headers, a transparent header. And if we go to the testimonials page, we have a standard header. So we want to check that both logos are correctly set. Next, make sure your favicon is set. So in case you don't know, a favicon is a little icon that users see in their browser tab. And to set it, we're going to open the WordPress customizer. In our case, we're using Astra. So we go to Astra, Customize, then click on the Header Builder, Site Title and Logo, and let's scroll all the way down and then click on Site Icon. And as you can see, we've already set it right here, so it's perfect. But in case you want to change it, you can just click on Change Image and pick up a new one. And if you've been following the course, you know that we provided all the course files so you can try with this favicon. But of course, the idea here is that when you create your own website with your own logo, you upload your own favicon. So once you've uploaded it, make sure you click on Publish and you're done. Next, image optimization. Images can really impact the performance of your website. So I've shown you how to optimize this image that weighs 12 megabytes or 12,000 kilobytes as you prefer. And then we optimize it to this image. And tell me if you can see a difference. Image 1, Image 2. Image 1, Image 2. So as I said, the image 1 is 12,000 kilobytes and image 2 is 73 kilobytes. So make sure you optimize all images on your website. Next, make sure your website is responsive. So the time of building websites for just one type of device, like a laptop, for example, and just one resolution, well, that time is gone because today we have huge screens, small screens, tablets, smartphones, and the traffic on smartphones is huge. So just make sure the desktop, tablet, and mobile versions look good. So you're going to have to go through each and every page on your website. I know it takes time, but hey, if you want results, you need to work for it. And once you've done it, then you're pretty much set. Next, make sure your content is SEO ready. Now, in case you don't know, SEO is the process of making a website more visible in search results in order to increase the quantity and quality of organic or free website traffic. And SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. Now, the topic of SEO is so vast and is completely beyond the scope of this video. But if you need help, I will point you to a blog post on our website with a complete guide for SEO. But in a nutshell, SEO starts with how you create your content, whether it's the text, the tags like the H1 tags, and you will learn about all that in the guide, whether it's the images with the importance of adding alt text, like for example here on this image, is described as digital strategist using a digital tablet, or whether it's the rest of the text on your website with the keyword density and strategies to capture your audience. But once again, you will find all information in this ultimate guide on our website. Next, add a SEO plugin. To make your life easier when it comes to SEO, as you may imagine, there are a few plugins out there. For example, Rank Math SEO or SEO Press, just to name a few. And these plugins will really help you to tackle all aspects of SEO, from SEO grades, keyword density, and even how to deal with images. So if you want to rank organically in Google and want to make your life easier, make sure you add a SEO plugin. Next, add a social share image. Now, as we just saw, SEO plugins can take care of many things. And one of these things is social share images. So basically, when you want to share the URL of your website, an image is going to be displayed on social media. And you want to make sure you can control which image is shared. Otherwise, it's very frustrating because it's going to pick one image and you will never know why this image is shared when you post on social media. So if you install the SEO plugin, that should be easy to do. But I really want to stress this out because there are so many options in these plugins that it's easy to skip this option. Next, create an XML sitemap. But first, what is an XML sitemap? Well, sitemaps is a protocol in XML format meant for a webmaster? I haven't heard that term in a long time. To inform search engines about URLs on a website that are available for web crawling. So basically, it's a way to tell the search engines, hey, this is the site map. The map of the website. Yeah. And once again, if you have a SEO plugin, you should have that option, but don't skip it because we will need this later. Next, check that your links are working. Now, links are what make websites and the internet go around, so you want to make sure your links are not broken. And guess what? If you install a SEO plugin, you should have that option also, like for example in Rank Math or in SEO Press. So make sure all your links are working, internal links, external links, and also check your social media links. Next, make sure you have a privacy policy page. So it depends where you live, but in this day and age, in most places, you must have a privacy policy page when you have a website. So for that, you want to go to Pages, All Pages. Now, by default, WordPress comes with a privacy policy page that is in draft mode, but the idea here is that you're going to replace the content by your own content and then publish the page. Now, on a side note, if you want to be on the safe side, ask a lawyer what your text should be. And if you can't find this page, or maybe you deleted it, you can always go to Settings, Privacy, and here you can decide to create a new page, or you can go in the drop down and say, hey, my privacy policy page is actually my homepage. Next, GDPR. The General Data Protection Regulation is a European Union regulation on information privacy in the European Union and the European Economic Area. Now, the truth is, even if you're not in that region, but if you do business with people in that region, you may be subject to comply with GDPR. Now, GDPR is a vast topic and it's beyond the scope of this video. But the first step is to try to use GDPR compliant tools as much as possible. And even though WordPress comes with some native GDPR options, the next step will be to get a dedicated plugin. Like for example, WordPress GDPR and CCPA. Now we're talking about GDPR, but of course, this also applies to all different regulations in the world. So depending on where you're based, you may be subject to a different regulation. So the rule of thumb is look if there is a plugin for it, something that really helps to comply with the law, and just implement to the best of your ability. And with the right tool, it's not as complicated as it seems. Next, add Google Analytics. So, as you may know, Google Analytics is a free tool that helps you understand your customers across devices and platforms. Basically, it's statistics. The tool is free, so if you don't already have an account, click on Get Started today to create an account, and then you will need to add your website. So you will receive a key, and you will need to add this key to your website. And for that, you can either use a dedicated plugin, or once again, if you added an SEO plugin, you should find an option to add that code. Next, check your grammar and spelling. There's nothing worse than having a beautiful and modern website crippled with spelling and grammatical errors. So make sure your website is free of those errors, and in this day and age, especially with AI, that should be pretty easy to do. Next, proofread your content on all pages. So we've just talked about spelling and grammar, but what about meaning? Reread the sentences and make sure that it actually makes sense to what you're trying to convey. You may be surprised about what you find. Next, remove WordPress revisions. Every time you make a change in WordPress and hit publish or save, WordPress is going to create what is called a revision. And basically it's a snapshot of the changes you made. And the reason is that with this, you can go back in time and just roll back to a previous version. Now that's great, but the issue is after a while, especially if you work on a bigger website or on a bigger project, your database might get bloated, and that's going to impact the performance of your website. So to solve that, you can add a plugin. So if you go to plugins, add new plugin and type revisions, you'll find a few of these plugins. But if you're using WP Rocket, as I've shown you in the optimization tips video in this course, you can just go to database and then you can optimize the database. Here in just one click, I can select the revisions and then just save changes and optimize, and it's going to delete all revisions. Now, I advise you to do this once the project is completely finished, completely done. You know, you're just about to launch, then it's fine. But while you're still building it, you may want to keep the revisions for the time being. But like I said, once you're ready, just delete those revisions. Next, check all web forms on your website. Having a contact form on your website is a must-have nowadays, but you want to make sure that it actually works. So try sending a message through the contact form and make sure you receive the email. And if you don't, you're going to need to debug it. I've shown you how to set up WP Forms, which is the plugin used on this website. But whatever plugin or solution you're using, the rule is the same. Just test it and make sure that it works. Next, check the performance of your website. Basically, you can use free tools like Pingdom Tools or PageSpeed Insights to double check the performance of your website. Next, media and licensing. Great images can have a significant impact on your credibility. But please don't be that person that just goes to Google and steals images, especially in this day and age where you can get free images with AI or with free websites like Pexels or Pixabay, just to name a few. But as usual, always read the terms and conditions, and when in doubt, just contact the copyright owner. Next, add a security plugin. Taking time to build a beautiful and modern website only to find out it was hacked just days after it was launched makes no sense. So in WordPress, go to plugins, add new plugin, and then look for plugins like Malcare, Patchstack, Security, or Solid Security, which used to be called iTheme Security. Now, all of these plugins are different, but they do the same thing. They're going to protect your website against external attacks. They come with a free version, and they usually come with a ton of tutorial for you to set them up. So do yourself a favor and protect your website. Next, add a caching plugin. And with the caching plugin, you can go from this performance to this performance. And if you're looking for free options, all you need to do is go to plugins, add new plugin, and just type caching in the search field. Now, if you're looking for a next level caching solution and you don't mind paying for a premium, then we recommend WP Rocket. And on a side note, you may want to try a plugin like Perf Matters, which work alongside with your caching plugin and makes your website even more performant. Next, add a CDN. Now, on top of your caching plugin, the ultimate speed boost for your website is a CDN. And basically, a CDN is fast content delivery to your users anywhere in the world. So basically, when one of your users is trying to view your website from the end of the planet, and your website hosting is on the other hand of the planet, it might not be as fast as you want. So basically what a CDN does, and CDN stands for Content Delivery Network, the CDN is going to duplicate your website and store cached copies in many places in the globe. And that means that your website viewers are always going to get served the closest copy of your website, thus making the experience way faster. Next, cross-browser testing. You might be surprised how your website looks on different browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and so on. So the best thing you can do is try it for yourself. Try it in private or incognito mode, and possibly try it on some other device. It's not the device you are developing the website on. Now, if instead you prefer using a tool, hop on Google and just type cross-browser website testing, and you will see a ton of options. And at this stage, if you find any errors from one browser to the other, it's time to debug. Now, the good news is that Internet Explorer is a thing of the past, so you're lucky you won't have to deal with that. But if you find a bug, it may be time to go back to the Elementor builder and make some changes. Next, cross-devices testing. So just like the testing for the browsers, you also want to test for various devices. You want to test for a desktop, but desktop is very wide. You want to test on a big screen, on a smaller screen, like a tiny laptop, for example. You want to try on a tablet, you want to test on a smartphone, you name it. Now, of course, unless you have all these devices, it might be a bit difficult. So the first thing you can do is just test it in your browser. And if you have an external screen, just see how it looks if you have a bigger screen. But then what you can do also is go on a page here, for example, in Google Chrome, right click, then click on Inspect. And make sure you have this icon selected. So by default, this is what you will see, and click on that icon, which is a responsive icon. Next, here in the dropdown, you can change the device. So let's say I want to try iPhone 12 Pro. Well, this is how it looks like. So as you can see, I have many different devices and brands, and I can even click edit and add new ones. Now, this is not perfect. The best thing to do is to try on a real device, but if you can't, at least you can try this solution. And as usual, if you prefer using a dedicated tool, just go to Google and type cross-devices website testing. Next, cross-OS testing. So you thought we were done with testing, but nope, because ideally you would test your website on the macOS operating system and on the Windows operating system. And if you're really hardcore, you can test your website on Linux. I'm just kidding. But the rule of thumb is, and that's valid for all tests, whether it's the browser, the type of devices, or the operating system, you want to optimize for where your audience is going to be. So if most of your audience will be on a Mac, it makes sense to optimize first for the macOS operating system, and vice versa. If they're on Windows, optimize for Windows. Same thing for the browsers and same thing for devices. If you know that 90% of the people are going to view your website on a smartphone, then you should spend more time optimizing on the smartphone. Now, if you don't have both a Mac and a Windows machine, there are free solutions, and I'm going to talk about it in a moment. And that moment is right now, because next you're going to ask friends and colleagues to scan your website. Not only is it free, unless of course your friends ask you for money, but then are they really friends? And next, chances are some will be on Windows, some will be on the Mac, and then when it comes to the smartphone, some will be on iOS and some will be on Android. So you get a testing cross devices, cross browser for free. But that means you need to have friends, of course. But if you don't, just ask your colleagues. Yeah. Next, add your website to the Search Console. So if you want to add your website to Google, it's free. Just type Search Console and click on the first link. Next, click on Start Now. Now, if you're not logged in, you will be prompted to log in. If you don't have a Google account, just create it. It's free. And then all you need to do is add your domain, click on Continue, and follow the instructions on screen. You will be asked to provide the XML sitemap that we talked about earlier on in this video and that you can get from your SEO plugin. And then sit back, relax, and after a few days, your website will be added in the Google search engine. Next, back up your website. At this stage, backing up your website is essential. I remember once I delivered a website to a client and he was so happy, but then a few months later, his web hosting bill arrived and he didn't see the email for months, so he didn't renew. And then he called me panicking, said, "Hey, I lost the website." So just imagine if I did not have a backup. Everything would be lost. He would have to pay again for the website, or in case he had built the website himself, he would have to start from scratch again. And that can be really depressing, especially when you've put a lot of time into building your website. Now, luckily for him, I had a backup. Whew. So I strongly encourage you to do the same. And if you're looking for a good tool for the job, just go to plugins, add new plugin, and then in the search field, type WP Vivid without any space, and here it is. Click on install, then activate and follow the instructions on screen. Next, and that may be the simplest one on this list, just launch. And that may mean sending a message to your friends and colleagues, or even why not, throwing a party. And if a party is too much, how about a meetup? The thing is, you want to remember that day so that in the future you can look back and say, hey, this is the day we launched the website. Next, tell the world. So we've already launched the website, so you may think, what do you mean by tell the world? So when you launch, it might be better to just do a soft launch first, so just friends and family, for example. But now you want to tell the whole world. So for that, you're going to use your social media. So if you have a big following, that's going to help. But if you have no following, still share it on your social media. And you may want to use ads. You may want to boost your posts. And it's a bit different depending on which platform you are. But most of these platforms have ads. So you're going to have to put a little bit of budget. But that's really going to help to let the world know, hey, there's a new website and this is what we do. And ideally, you would direct them to a landing page. But that's a debate for another video. And if you do have a newsletter, now is the time to spread the good news and hit send. Now, some other things you may want to do is a game where people are actually going to win something. Of course, they'll be more interested in the prize, but what you want is to let people know that you're launching the website. So you want to have a lot of eyes seeing your brand and the message that a new website is out. And cherry on the cake, the game could be about finding some info that is hidden somewhere on the website. Just a little tip. Next, and that's probably my favorite one, pat yourself on the back. And by that I mean celebrate. It could be having your best beer, or eating your favorite junk food, or healthy food. It could be playing your favorite video game, or going on a weekend trip with your significant other to celebrate. Now I know it may sound like a lot and you may say, hey, it's just launching a website. But even if it's just buying a chocolate bar, give yourself a reward. Because my friend, you deserved it. And if you followed the whole course, you deserve it even more. 2 chocolate bars for you. So congratulations, your website should now be fully ready. And we hope that you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed making it. So now the question is, when do you plan to launch your website and what is your website about? Please let us know in the comments below. Whoo, it's done. I can't believe it. How many days, weeks? The course is finally done. Let me pat myself on the back. And here's my treat. So good. I've been dreaming about you for weeks. It's done.